Ladies and gentlemen, I am back and caffeinated, and we have another good game of Battlerite coming up. I am in the flesh 93, of course, if you've forgotten me in the last hour. With me, my boy No_Crooks. How's it going, Crooks?
I'm good. It sounds like you're more caffeine than in the flesh at this point, but that's probably for a good reason, so I don't really mind.
Yeah, of course. You got to stay caffeinated. We got lots of exciting Battlerite to talk about. It'd be a shame if I didn't sound excited. But we have Red versus Spacestation Gaming coming up. A very exciting match, of course. Red Canids, a team that upset Dolos pretty handily at that, winning very dominantly in a 3-1 fashion, playing against the North American powerhouse, Spacestation Gaming. How do you expect this one to go, man?
You know, it's a little bit difficult to sort of formulate. I think, again, all bets are sort of off when it comes to this new LAN environment, and I think watching Red Canids play has been really interesting. They look so solid.
Like, they did.
It wasn't just sort of the interesting factor of the weirder comps.
Right.
It was also really solid play.
It was no just like weird shocking comp. Yeah.
Right.
There was no surprise. They just literally outplayed Dolos.
Yeah.
They just played incredibly well.
It's just
3 games.
Just good Battlerite.
Yeah.
It's not down to cheesing with comps or anything. Just good solid Battlerite.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff that wins you tournaments. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like.
And of course, these teams, they aren't just playing for pride, playing for a lot of money. $10,000 for first, that kind of money. Decent chunk of change for each player. Breaks down to like $3K a person. It's pretty nice.
Not too bad.
Yeah, it's a good chunk. As you mentioned earlier, it's pretty good for a weekend to play video games.
Not too bad for a weekend, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, for those of you who have not heard, we have had to play the 2 games starting off Group B offline. A little bit unfortunate, but you know, time constraints. What can you do? We have Impact versus Youngsung happening. Youngsung is actually up 1-0, Crooks.
I was watching. I think a lot of people are over there right now watching those games happen.
I was just over there.
It's intense. It's intense. It's like everybody get out to the playground. Youngsung and Impact are fighting, you know, and everybody piles out of the school because that's one of the barn burners of the day, and I think the result of that will make for some good games as well later in the night. Yeah,
of course, it's very unfortunate that we couldn't have that played on stream, but you know, at the end of the day, try not to be too upset. Try to be understanding of the schedule. We got to stay on time so we can make sure the day 2 we have all of our games and all of the grand finals being played and all of that stuff, of course. But yeah, that's got to be an insane game, and that was 5-2 the first game. So it was like moderately close on a round-to-round basis, but at the end of the day, Youngsung was just like fully ahead. Playing a very interesting comp too. They were playing older, serious Bako.
That's very interesting. You know, we've seen them run sort of those double support comps before, but that adaptation, more interesting than ever.
So enough about that. That is still happening offline, and we'll keep you guys updated. But right now, we got SSG versus Red Canids. Very interesting to see how this will go. Red Canids, of course, they've been playing that double support comp that, you know, me and Jolts were saying shouldn't work. They were playing the Blossom Older, and they had a lot of success doing it. What do you think about this Blossom Older comp, and what do you think SSC should bring to the table against it?
You know, it seems difficult because a lot of players coming into this have much less of an idea of what they're supposed to do against this, because it's a fundamentally different style of Battlerite.
Yeah.
Right? This doesn't feel like Battlerite when you play against it. This feels like I have to shoot abilities at a brick wall, and maybe at some point it'll die, or maybe the circle closes and I just lose. But I think there are a lot of adaptations you can make. I would not be surprised to see a verse on a hero like Varish in this game. I think Varish is a very likely adaptation here. You go that 4-charge ultimate Battlerite, you take Inspiration maybe even, along with the Shatter. You could even go the Battlerite that reduces the cooldown of your Inhibitor's Guard when you land Shatters. I think Varish has the incredible ability to grind hard in games like that, just farm ults over and over and over again, and at some point the stacking damage applied with Judgment as well is just going to be too much for a team like that to out-heal, and that is an aspect of them that is definitely vulnerable.
Well, we're not going to be seeing the Varish. We'll instead be seeing a verse on Jumong, one of his classic picks. They're going to be pairing it with Croak and Older. Very interesting comp here. Definitely a lot of damage output coming from these 3. And Red Canids, they're not running their double support comp. They are instead going to be running the Ashka Paloma Varesh.
Yeah, as I imagine, it would have been interesting to see how the draft phase, but I imagine this SSG draft was tailored specifically to this comp that Red Canids ended up picking. I like the idea of running that Croak Older specifically to try and burst one of these ranged heroes, apply a lot of pressure. We saw Jurgen have great success with the Croak, even though they didn't manage to close out that series. His movement was great, his camo setups were great, especially in coordination with Hot Biscuit on Ashka, and I think Jumong is sort of the ideal hero to try and deal with this, just the constant damage of Rain of Arrows, grinding away, hopefully going for some big Dragon Slayer plays. plays, maybe Versh can channel his inner Jurgen and try and give some people the high noon.
Yeah, and time again, I've seen Jumong just sit back, post up, and M1 against Paloma, kind of one of her worst nightmares. Yeah. So just in general, I really like that pick. Varesh kind of has a hard time nailing down the Jumong as well with the 3 mobility spells, including the double cast of Black Arrow. He just has so many ways to dodge the shatter combos, so just really liking that Jumong pick. And Croak, of course, he has that inherent strength of being able to cleanse off the debuffs of Varesh with his camouflage. Very good draft from SSG up against what Red Canids is running.
Yeah, I think it's pretty smart. And the idea of just approaching the attrition with just more attrition of your own, I think is fairly intelligent, as well as the ability to look for the burst in coordination with the older and the Croak. I think it'll work quite well.
Yeah.
The Ashka in particular, I think we'll see him have his feet held to the fire quite a bit this game. You want to get into an opportunity where Ruben can really just open up and do a lot of damage, farm those ultis, as we've always seen Hot Biscuit do in competitive play. Ruben wants to do, the very same thing, and I think this comp is actually very good at stopping that from happening.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it'll be very hard for the Ashka to get in, play aggressively, and he'll have to instead be dealing with a lot of pressure up on himself. The Jumong, of course, you really don't want to just sit up M1ing a Jumong. He has longer range than you. His arrow goes so far, and it just hits for a little bit more than yours does. Something you really just can't put yourself in a situation to have happen. And the Croak matchup, I'm not too confident that's good for the Ashka either.
It's just very difficult. I feel like with Ashka, it's easy to get into a situation in competitive Battlerite 3s where you're forced to just have your running shoes on the entire time. You're forced to be running away. And unfortunately, Ashka doesn't have a whole lot of abilities to do damage while fleeing or while playing very defensively. He's the hero where he wants to sit up, play Fortress, just channel that M2 and deal a lot of damage, farm that ultimate. And if you have a melee hero constantly on you, forcing you into places you don't want to be, it's going to be very difficult to play the Ashka there. And honestly, Varesh, how much is he going to be able to do to support you, to give you that space to confirm an orb, to move forward, to build your own energy? I mean, he's going to be able to give you a shield. He's going to be able to apply corruption to an enemy so you take a little bit less damage. But those things are not as concrete as having a melee player just absorbing space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Inhibitor's Guard, its value is going to be a little bit limited here in this comp, simply because of the amount of time that the damage from SSG comes out.
Yeah.
Inhibitor's Guard shield's generally very good against large bursts. The damage SSG is going to be putting out is going to be a little bit slower with the rain of arrows in the M1, so it's going to be consistent, and that barrier is not going to last forever. Eventually it's going to run out, and then you're still going to be in that rain of arrows, and you're still going to be getting hit with M1s. So in general, I just really think that what SSG is bringing to the table is very, very favorable against Red.
I think it's smart. I think they have a significant advantage as well watching Red Canids play earlier. Yeah. When they do run these sort of interesting comps, we've said they're solid Battlerite backing it up, but they still are strange comps fundamentally.
Right. Yeah, and solid Battlerite, honestly, if I could think of a phrase to define Red Canids up to this point, it would be solid Battlerite. It was so funny watching them play against Dolos because it was like the differences between playstyle. Dolos, of course, playing with that heavy combo style that Hot Biscuit is known for. And Red Canids, they're just playing so slow and so patiently and just doing things right. Playing like the most fundamentally solid Battlerite that I've seen in a really long time. They're not even using anything flashy. They're just doing things right time and time again.
It just seems so much more about sort of managing space properly, especially when they run these triple range comps. The idea of managing space, hitting your M1s, simple things like that, building energy efficiently, coordinating with each other. I love watching Aklo on Varesh, for instance, occupies space really well with the counter, blocking key cooldowns. Tex has had great Paloma play, some really highlight real level swaps already in the tournament. Been great. He understands, people are going to try and play combo comps against this triple range that they're running in particular. So a lot of the onus is on him to bail his teammates out of tough situations. And if he can make those flashy plays on Paloma, it can happen.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the really good swaps, we saw the swap on the double Venom Wind earlier.
Yeah.
So many good things he was doing right. His Blossom looked incredibly good too. The dude just looked really good.
Yeah, I think he's been solid, and it's clear these guys have a lot of capability when it comes to teamwork. And one of the most interesting things watching their games from the crowd, as I did, is these guys are always smiling. They're always having fun.
They look so happy.
They're just happy to be here, man. And I think that's such a healthy attitude to have, is approaching the competition in just its purest form. They really seem like they're enjoying themselves, and I think really good things can come from just enjoying some video games.
I've often found that my most success from video games comes when I'm really enjoying it. Like I was the best at Battlerite when I was having fun playing competitively, and like I really see that in these guys. These guys really embody that spirit of like the positive, happy players that just want to be here and play the game. It's so funny watching these guys play. They come off the stage and they're immediately like all smiling and like high-fiving and being really friendly. Just honestly, such a great group of guys. Really cool to see them succeed.
And then on the other end, of course, we have Bloom Battlerite on screen right now. No, I'm just kidding. Of course.
Just kidding, of course.
Just kidding, of course.
Guys.
Yeah, it's just a prank, absolutely.
Yeah, SSG, on the other hand, they've been looking pretty good too. So we spend a lot of time talking up Red Canids, but SSG is not a team we can sleep on. I've been very surprised personally about the amount of comps they've been able to run. I think in their match earlier, they played 3 different comps that ran with significantly different styles. It was very interesting to see.
There's been a lot of interesting sort of recurrence of history coming back in this lane already. We saw Croak Ashka Older earlier today.
Yeah.
We saw Taya Shifu Lucy as well. These are comps from more than 6 months ago, to be honest, and people are sort of pulling them out, understanding how they function in the meta a little bit, bringing things back, and it's just it's very fun to watch. I love watching SSG run stuff that's just very textbook SSG. These kind of run at you comps, very aggressive, very execution based, very mechanically intensive, and they play them so well. And I think it's going to be challenging for the South Americans to go up against that, because I think we've seen them have a little bit of trouble with a really assertive melee player in particular. We saw Jurgen, his Croak looked great, and it seemed like they genuinely struggled with that quite a bit. And now you've got Proster.
I feel like Proster is that on steroids.
Proster is that on steroids, absolutely.
Yeah. Jurgen definitely got in there, applied a ton of pressure. He had a couple sick 1v2s cleaning up kills, but this is Proster. This is the Shifu that we know and categorize as the guy that just like goes in and doesn't stop.
Yeah.
He's just going to spear in, and then he's going to spear in again, and then you're going to eat a bunch of M1s and an M2, and you're going to just be dead from the get-go. So like this is definitely a player that embodies aggression, and if Red Canids aren't used to playing against it, it might not work out so well for him.
I think there's something where we've seen Red Canids, we talked about the solid Battlerite, they have a way that they like to play, they want to push you back, they want to farm energy over time with this triple ranged comp, and you have to kind of think of what's going to happen when they truly encounter a team that has no intention of letting them do that.
Right.
And I think SSG has had a lot of time to study their play as well. That's sort of the privilege of being able to watch their series that already took place. I think SSG has comps prepared for this. I think the comp they've come up with naturally is a result of theory crafting over literally the last couple of hours, if I had to guess. And I think they're going to be well prepared. They're going to know exactly what they're playing against here.
Yeah, of course, it's not like Red Canids is completely unused to playing against pressure. The #2 team in South America, a very aggressive team in their own right, with their Rook and their Shifu. They really like to get in there, but at this point, I'm not so sure that there is any team other than SSG that we can really consider as pulling off aggression successfully. I think this will be like the true test for whether or not Red can handle the aggression.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they can't, it's going to be bad news going further in, because I feel like they're bound to meet other teams that run just as hard. But I like the idea, again, we talk about these stylistic matchups as something that's very interesting to see it land different regions with sort of different play styles historically. So it's fun for me to watch SSG in particular sort of participate in these games and watch how the execution works on like an international level is very fun.
Yeah.
This will be the second game of theirs that we've casted already today. But I feel like they have a lot of things in their bag of tricks. Like you said, it's almost not so much about comps for them. It's more about like specific heroes and finding synergies there. And I like that way of playing a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I really like the way they've seemed to draft themselves this like playstyle reliably, where Proster can go in with this character that has a lot of backup from Bloom's support, and then Averse just kind of gets free reign to do whatever he wants. And I feel like this draft they have up here is going to be exactly the same. The older Croak, of course, the Croak going to just kind of go in and do his own thing. And if he's successful with his pressure, I feel like Averse might just absolutely destroy this game.
There's definitely an opportunity for it. I think Jumong, if you've got to give the ball to one person and just rely on them to slam dunk it, I think Averse on Jumong could absolutely get it done. The kid can pump so much damage just on a moment's notice. I think the pressure could be too much for Red to handle, but we'll have to see it in practices. I'm sure we have the game coming up very soon. Yeah,
if there's 2 players that I can think of that you want to put on Jumong and put in a situation to succeed, it's Averse and it's Dizzler. Yeah. If you get a melee that can go in and create space and make a lot of room for your Jumong, and it's either Averse or Dizzler playing that Jumong, your enemies are going to have a really bad time. Yeah, absolutely. Just the amount you can do with space. Space in itself in Battlerite is kind of a resource in the same way that we talk about cooldowns being a resource. Yeah. Sort of the option to move around the map, the option to use your cooldowns offensively or defensively is all a resource that players can take advantage of. And you especially see that in the role of ranged in Battlerite. I think they're the ones where they're given the space to do things, and then how they use that is very, very important. And you see that in players like Averse. Yeah, a lot of the time you'll see ranged players that aren't successful or aren't as successful as the top of the top, but have that space and not be able to capitalize on it. You'll see like just in general like lower damage numbers, and it'll kind of be like the rounds don't really end, or you don't really get enough damage out. Right. And it's kind of hard to see just by watching a round, but a lot of the time that can be a result of the ranged player not using his space properly. Yep. But if there are ranged players that I can think of that use their space correctly, unfortunately, it is a verse. A verse is on that list. There have been plenty of rounds where, you know, I've been playing against a verse in a 3v3 tournament, and then his allies go up on me, and then a verse just drops a double rain of arrows and hits every single M1 time and time again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as far as a little bit further into the bracket, I mean, how are you feeling about the place we're at in the tournament right now?
Yeah, the tournament's at a very interesting place. Of course, Dolo's falling to red, which is a pretty big upset. I'm very excited to see this match. I think this match is going to be very telling of what tomorrow looks like, especially with how the way the semis are going to be built up. I'm also very interested to see how Group B is going, how Youngsung is doing against Impact. You know, you and I on the call right over were talking about how we thought Impact were heavy favorites going into this event. We were kind of just like, Impact is going to win. But if they're losing to Youngsung going into day 2, like not even on day 2, and Youngsung like have this like advantage in momentum, I feel like the second day of the tournament could just look astronomically different than we expected it to.
I think it's similar ways to how Red Canids is a little bit strange in some ways. Sort of approaching them is very theory-based, right? You have to understand what they're going to draft. You have to understand what they can play. I think Youngsung is very much the same way. You know, we've talked about Jeter, kind of the draft master, the mastermind, the shot caller of that team. They're so flexible. They can play so many different things. We've seen everything from ninjas on Destiny. Of course, you got Rare Peep on Baco. You've got Jeter himself on Baco, known as sort of the melee player of NA for such a long time, sort of swapped to support in a lot of situations. You've got the ever-present threat of ninjas on Sirius, you know, which we could see this tournament, which, man, that would be exciting. Sort of the serious player of Battlerite.
It's similar to how when you think of Naraga, you think of the Pearl player in Battlerite. It's like the serious player. Like, there's nobody that makes Sirius look like Ninja makes him look like. Like, you can play Sirius. There are some people that have a functional Sirius, but there's nobody that has an amazing Sirius like Ninjas. Like, a game-changing Sirius that will just literally win you rounds. The things I see him do with Prismatic Strike just disgust me. You see him, like, R out of all of these AoE abilities when somebody tries to punish him for using his space. It seems like he's unpunishable on that character. Just he always manages to find the maximum value out of his abilities. So Ninjas on Sirius. I could go on for days.
This is mind-blowing. Yeah, you could talk about it all the time, but I think the parallel between sort of Youngsung and Red, where you can't quite be sure about what Youngsung is going to run, I think that may be some part of what Impact is running into here, is sort of being a little bit unsure in the draft phase.
Right.
And I think there is sort of something interesting where you watch that first series go by like we did with Red Canids, and you might be a little bit surprised how people will adapt to that draft. You know, your bag of tricks for a lot of teams can only be so deep, and these drafts, you know, I think people will start to figure out sort of what to play a little bit more optimally, and I absolutely agree with you. I think this series against Red Canids is really going to be an interesting test.
Yeah, this series coming up very shortly. Of course, SSG versus Red Canids. The drafts are complete. Going to be a very exciting match. One I can't wait to see. Our first map is going to be Dragon Garden Knight. We have a Croak on Dragon Garden Knight, so I'm feeling really well for Prosser on this one. Feel like he's going to be definitely set up to succeed.
Absolutely. There's a lot of space for Croak to kind of move through the center of the map. You want a lot of room to move around in camo, as well as some pretty substantial walls to jump over, break line of sight, which is very advantageous for Croak. It really plays into the mind games.
Yeah, and of course, this is a game for the semi-final qualification. Whoever wins this one's going right into the semi-finals tomorrow, and they are done playing for the day. They get a little bit of a break, and they get time to see what everybody else is running and what they want to run, maybe get some practice time, some scrim time. So this is a very important match. Both of these teams desperately wanting that time, as time's kind of a resource at a LAN event that you can't get enough of.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot on the line here, and they don't want to drop into the lower bracket because, honestly, if I was Red Canids, I would be very afraid of having to play against Dolos.
Yeah, they are.
I'm not going to lie. I would be mortified to have to play against those guys again because we saw Dolos actively adapting the last series, as we said. Being able to watch Red's teams and their comps and their games before, I think, is actually a significant advantage when going against them. So I think if you're Red Canids, you don't want to have to play against somebody a second time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree anymore. You hit the point that I really wanted to emphasize is that Dolos, they are very adaptable players. They can all play pretty much any role. Of course, Hot Biscuit has some limitations. He has kind of like the Freya, Esmo, Ashka, and those are the three characters he really plays. But Clerney, very, very different. But we're going to have SSG versus Red Canids coming up right now. All right, Mr. Crook, we got our game here. Red Canids versus SSG for the third or fourth time. In case you guys didn't remember, we have Red Canids posting up mid, the Frog going right in. Proster trying to find the damage, and he does hit that panic at the very tail end and eats an M2 for it. A lot of damage coming out onto the Frogman already.
Yeah, I love the way that Proster just opened up this game immediately by putting the screws into red Canids. They don't want to let them set up, get that energy farm. They don't want them in a comfortable place. Bloom and Averse just going to go ahead and confirm that orb. Taps that Varish counter. He's got to be a little bit careful about that in the future. It's going to allow Aklo to reposition a lot more effectively. And look at that Jumong damage. Averse just setting up.
Dude, Averse doing so much damage with Rain of Arrows. The EXM2 going to deal a ton of damage to the Paloma as well. Just this pressure. Look at it. Another sick double Rain of Arrows dealing so much, creating so much pressure on this backline. The Ashka and the Paloma having to play so defensively here. The Infernal Scorch is going to come out and land onto Bloom's Older. He actually takes a huge chunk of damage for it. But the blue team, they've managed to stabilize and they get their second orb of the round. And Red Canids still forced to play so defensively. The Dragon Slayer, it comes out and it hits the Ashka. Aklo, or Ruben, not feeling too happy about that one, and he's going to fall.
Yep, and a pretty straightforward round starting off here from SSG. It's what we talked about. Felt like Proster bought them a lot of space early, and then you set it right up near that top wall. Averse was able to just tee off. He set up his golf clubs. He was just whacking them into their house over and over again. I mean, you just couldn't stop him from dealing any damage, just opening up, and you see it there. Averse dropping a juicy 1,000 damage stat that first round.
Dude, his disable score, 116. That's something you don't often see on the Jumong, a character that doesn't have many disables outside of his M2 stun Battlerite and the Rain of Arrows slow. The fact that the disable score is so high really tells me how successful he was at placing high value Rain of Arrows. And we saw it like twice. We saw a double Rain of Arrows dropped on 2 different characters. Averse playing beautifully in round 1 of this match.
Yep, Aklo with the tactical early counter to confuse the enemies that didn't see it. No problem.
The Judgment being cleansed right off by that Croak Camouflage. Very good ability here for that. Not letting the Judgment deal too much damage, but look how defensively they're being forced to play. Proster doing so much with his abilities and getting a lot of damage out, forcing out the other side early, and now SSG, they just get an orb for free.
And look at Proster just navigate this backline here. Ruben having such a difficult time setting up, actually finding an opportunity to deal damage. I like the E there, but he has no space. No E, Proster's gonna go ahead and channel that on him. He's gonna want on the other side. He does receive it, but unfortunately they stack it with a Varish barrier. He's in some trouble.
Yeah, the Paloma ultimate gonna heal up Ruben quite a bit, but the damage has been done, and his max recoverable HP is down below 90. The older ultimate too is here. The Infernal Scorch is going to find a little bit of damage on Bloom, but I'm not sure it's nearly as much as they need. But Croak might go down. He barely manages to get out. And in the meantime, Texas Paloma is going to fall. Now over in mid, Proster's getting the center orb, and Ruben is dying. Aklo left alone in this 1v3. Not enough energy for ult, and not enough energy to take this round, I think, Crooks.
Yeah, he's going to fleet for as long as he can here, but a little bit more of a sketchy round for the side of SSG, but they were able to close it out ultimately. Again, look at this. I just think the Jumong is going to be the story of this. What space can Proster and Bloom make for Averse, and what can he do with it? Because it seems like when given the opportunity, you know, it's so difficult for them to deal with this Croak in their backline constantly. I think one thing we've lauded Proster over in the past is his movement is so nice, and the way he's been navigating the danger zone, the minefield of Varish, Ashka Q, you know, the Paloma panic. He was in the backline the entire time. He barely triggered anything. Felt so difficult to nail down.
Yeah, Proster, very slippery frog here, moving around that backline like it's nothing, swimming through the backline of Red Canids. A little bit of damage coming out. He manages to not get hit by that Judgment too, and look at the damage forced out onto Paloma immediately. There's no other side either, so Proster, he's just gonna press his M1.
Yeah, I love when melee players just have that foresight to just M1 away, build that energy. Averse firing off the M2s, no real effect yet. Should still have the opportunity to open up a little bit. Bloom with a nice bubble placement as well.
Tex has no room this game, being pressured consistently, the quicksand being thrown down on top of him, but this time Averse is dealing with much more pressure coming out of the Varesh. Trading pretty unfavorably up top. He eats a crush too, but unfortunately, Aklo gonna miss that M2.
Yo, I like the play from Ruben here a lot, playing very far forward with the Ashka Firewall, trying to buy his teammates some space. He realizes he has HP to work with. They don't. He has the energy for ultimate, so he just wants to play very aggressively with Ashka. The space over the wall, a little bit risky. Proster is in stealth now, doesn't manage to get the stun off. Averse just pressuring Tex over and over again by channeling those M2s. As the orb is gonna come up, we'll see what team is gonna try and make a play for it. I wouldn't be surprised if Ruben started with an ultimate here. He's gonna be looking for it. Aklo bounces it well, but instead they just don't decide to confirm it.
The Dragon Slayer not going to get any value. I thought for a second it was going to be comboed with the stun of the Croak. Now Croak has Judgment on him. Luckily for him, he does not proc that panic. He has the camouflage available. Finally going to pop it off, and he lands a stun onto the Varesh, but immediately hits the counter after. A little bit of an unfavorable trade for the Croak up there, and SSG, they're falling quite far behind in round 3.
Yeah, they've split up a bit. I think they've overplayed their advantage a little bit. They start out throwing a nice double Ashka ultimate from Ruben as well. Is really going to put SSG on the back foot. They should be able to close out a kill right about now. Proster doesn't have a whole lot of tools to dedicate to himself. Bloom goes for the risky ultimate play, as you kind of had to in that situation, but they managed to navigate that. Averse is out of cooldowns, and Aklo's going to finish him with a stylish ulti.
Yep, that ultimate going to finish the job. Now next to fall is Bloom and Proster not long after, and man, really well played from Red Canids to take this round, getting a lot of damage out and coordinating much better on the Croak's entries.
Yeah, and Firewall is going to be a pretty big tool for Ruben to use with Ashka here. I think Jumong matches up favorably into Ashka, sans the times when Ruben is going to have Firewall available, because you can set up, it allows you to trade a little bit more favorably with Jumong, and Ruben will be able to get a lot more work done. I think we saw that there. Very nice Ashka round from him, and his teammates played around it as well. Tex always on top of the Paloma abilities to just get his teammates out of trouble. I love the swaps we've been seeing from him in particular.
Yeah, I love the way Tex played in general. Made a lot more space than in the rounds prior, or used up the space better that his allies were making for him. Did a great job healing. A nice panic to start this round off, but that camouflage is going to clean off the hand of Judgment, but he hits a stealth Croak with that Judgment.
Yeah, that's not funny. Proster pretty much just has to back up because of that. And this is a situation that Red Canids wants, where they've essentially denied the early aggression of SSG.
That was so smart.
What a blind. What is Ruben doing? He's reading the code in the Matrix. Oh my god.
Reading Proster like a book there, hitting that Molten Fist, and a nice panic proc from Tex there. Proster's just getting eaten alive. Crooks, the older ultimate's going to come out and land onto the Paloma. Oh, the Dragon Slayer at the end of it. So much damage, burst from 100% to about 50, but this is definitely not over for Red Canids, and in fact, they still have an advantage. Blue team is going to get the orb, but they're falling pretty far behind here, and Paloma, with the help of that pet, going to heal up Ruben to full.
Yeah, they've tried their best to equalize the HP advantage with some damage from reverse, and they've done it a little bit, but they're still at about a 20% deficit. Red Canids doesn't even mind being pushed out of mid so much. They're still posting up.
Yeah, I really like the way Tex is playing around his allies now, too. The older ultimate going to come out. Oh, the other side, and the R from Avaresh going to be gotten by that ultimate. The Infernal Scorch is going to be the answer, and Bloom is getting so low down here, and Averse is doing no better. Proster going to fall as well. Everybody on SSG just slowly but surely falling.
I think they're just starting to realize on the side of SSG that under no circumstances can they really allow Red Canids to just play their game.
Yeah.
You can tell the game fundamentally changes. You start at the beginning with a lot of aggression from Proster, plays very far forward, but you tend to get to this point where all of a sudden Ruben has some energy for Firewall, Tex has energy for Swap. Aklo starts firing off those shatters, has the barrier available, maybe gets a counter triggered where he becomes a little bit scarier. He can apply Judgment a lot easier, and I think at that point when Red Canids starts the Fortress rolling, it can be difficult to break, especially for Croak. We see Proster, he eats a Judgment, he can't risk going in. He'll get bursted too fast.
I think the two things that defined that round were the Molten Fist on the Invisible Croak and the Hand of Judgment on the Invisible Croak. If they manage to play Proster like that, play him like a fiddle, I think these rounds will go very well for Red Canids. This time, however, Proster finds a successful entrance onto the Paloma, gets a little chunk of true HP, and the other side is forced out because of a great Chrono Flux, not wanting to eat that Ghost Wall, but now, oh my god, look at the damage onto the Varesh. That Rain of Arrows dealing so much, recognizing that there was no other side. Averse just took that opportunity and ran with it.
Yeah, he really had an opportunity to go online there and got a lot of damage for it. Ruben gonna fire the Q, not too much effect. Aklo gonna use his counter actually, puts him in a bit of a risky situation as a nice stun by Proster is gonna catch Ruben after he spaces. The older Bubble's a little bit questionable as Tex is just gonna drop that Paloma ultimate, keep his teammates topped off. Here comes the older ultimate though, what can they do with it? They catch Ruben, there goes the other side though, and now the side of Red Canids is seriously open. I love the Croak ultimate here, that's gonna deal a lot of damage. Reverse is gonna follow up, barely misses the last couple of projectiles, Tex lives.
Yeah, the Paloma so close to dying there, and Blue team, SSG gonna get the orb, and even though the HP pools are similar, this is still looking so bad for Red simply because of the HP that Paloma's working with. The Hand of Judgment on the the Jumong is allowing Varesh to trade a little bit favorably here, and Proster gets chunked very hard by the Ashka, but still, look how far back Tex has to play. He doesn't have that ultimate yet. He finally farms it up now, has that additional iframe. We'll see if Red can get the orb. They actually get the orb. They're in this round, Crooks.
Oh, that's so bad to give up the orb on the side of SSG. They needed those resources so much.
Oh,
God.
God.
Them up, and it looks like Proster may die in Invis. He's got to be so careful. Tex, 1 HP yet again in this round. It's so rough. Averse holding on to the ultimate. Bloom is going to go down. Can they get some kind of a big Dragon Slayer here? No, Proster's going to go down. How did they bring that back?
Dude, someone get me a Red Canids jersey. I need this jersey. These guys are, I'm on the bandwagon. These guys are absolutely incredible. Did you see how far behind they were that round? Down 20%, and the Paloma only working with a sliver, and not only with that sliver of health, but no energy to work with up until the very end. And Tex still managed to stay alive and have a very high impact on the Paloma. I gotta say, if there's a standout player that I've seen in Group A that has absolutely blown me away, it's been Tex and his Paloma today.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. He rides the razor so well. You know, he's always just on the edge, and honestly, in this kind of situation where you don't want to dedicate too many resources to yourself as a Paloma, that's a great way to play.
Things starting out very neutrally here. The counter for the Varesh is not going to get procced, and my God, is he going to get punished for it. Not wanting to other side the Varesh was Tex, and man, the damage Aklo took as a result was massive. Now Proster having a successful entry onto Tex, the panic wasn't procced from Tex, and everybody on not SSG, but rather Red Canids just getting chunked so hard, Crooks.
Yeah, this is looking a lot better from the side of SSG. The early double M2 from reverse just set them off on such a good foot.
Yeah.
SSG's going to keep playing aggressive.
Oh my
There's
God.
an orb up, but they don't care. They don't want to
God.
take their foot off the accelerator, and they just keep going.
Dude, did you see that rain of arrows?
Yeah.
Such a high impact rain of arrows on two characters getting so much damage out. The Varesh not even going to be able to finish this one with an ultimate. Well, he will, but it might as well not have been an ultimate as it hits nobody. And wow, Red Canids, yeah, you said it. SSG, they hit the accelerator and man, they went from 0 to 100 so quick.
I think that's the biggest thing is understanding how to sort of convert Proster's early aggression into aggression in the mid game after like the first orb comes up, because it just seems like against this fortressy of a comp, Red plays it so well. Just under no circumstances do you ever want to stop just cranking that damage. And I love the way they didn't even bother going for that orb. They just kept going very, very smart, because they realized after the swap, after the other side, leading into the older E from Bloom, the follow-up from reverse was just going to be enough to close a kill.
Yeah, it's like they finally made it to the golden pasture, and they just decided they would want to walk back if they'd gone for that orb. Instead, they just recognized the open they had, and they got the kill onto Red Canids. And this round is not looking much better for Red, as Aklo, he's already chunked down a full third of his HP. The inhibitor's guard getting burned through as well, and SSG is poised up mid to get the orb for free.
Yep, getting the orb there is huge, denying energy from the side of Red as well. As Proster's going to go aggressive, Aklo has used his counter, used his R as well, and this is going to be a real opportunity for Jumon to get some damage in if Reverse is allowed to move forward.
Some damage did come out onto SSG though, and they actually have a pretty significant disadvantage at this point. Proster below half, and Jumon doing no better. He's absolutely getting destroyed by this Asker. The Infernal Scorch is going to land as well. A Verse getting destroyed by Ruben.
I can't believe that just took place. Bloom, I can't help but feel, was that a misplaced Older ultimate attempting to go aggressive? Was it meant for Reverse? I'm not sure. But I mean, what a closer from Red there, answering back with a really dominant round of their own.
Yeah, it was very interesting because from the opener, I thought for sure that Proster and the boys of SSG would have a successful round. But Red, they just they understood the situation they were in perfectly, and once he had energy for that firewall, like you mentioned, Ruben took his momentary advantage in the matchup against Jumong, just posted up and got a ton of damage out onto a versus Jumong, finding the kill eventually with the Infernal Scorch. A great recognition of the situation they were in from Red.
Yeah, I love it, and I think Ruben in particular has been on top of the ultimates. He realizes it's a great way to sort of bust some damage open from their team. Otherwise, they play very defensively, very, kind of passively absorbing the aggression of SSG, but every once in a while, they can hit the go button in a big way.
Proster, he's got that judgment. He's going to have to cleanse it off with the camouflage, but he gets hit again. My God, dude. They had that cheat on, got him through stealth, and Proster already down to half.
This is bad. This is really bad for the side of SSG as Red Cannon managed to sneak that first orb. Aklo's on full energy. Gonna go ahead and get his ulti canceled. Doesn't really matter. Reverse playing like he's playing old Jumong from 2016. I think he's just a little bit too far up here as Ruben just plows him from behind the firewall. Bloom trying to group up with his teammates. Not able to stop the aggression. I love the ultimate over the wall. It's so sick. And Aklo still has R on deck because of Inspiration.
Yeah, Inspiration, such a good battle right for Varesh, and we see why there. And the Shatter might find the kill on a Verse, but he manages to narrowly get away, but he's dead, Crooks.
Wow.
Game 1 going to Red Canids.
Unbelievable. Aklo that game played a stellar Varish performance. I love it. So consistent. The way he uses his abilities is just, I don't know. I'm out of words. I'm not human thesaurus. I can't come up with anything other than consistent. This is just solid battle right here.
Yeah, playing so reliably, so consistently, not making many errors. Aklo and Ruben, the ranged DPS players, really showing up today. Honestly, everybody on the side of Red performing so well. It's such a treat to watch these guys too, because like we've talked about, we didn't know what to expect from the South Americans. A lot of people just thought they simply wouldn't be good, but man, Red Canids have really shown up today and proved that they're a force to be reckoned with.
It's very interesting. It's a combination of just the solid Battlerite plus these sort of interesting comps and picks that people aren't as used to encountering. And I think those two things are sort of coming together in this beautiful marriage that makes for some really, really interesting games.
The beautiful marriage that is Red Canids.
Sure.
Yes. It sounds funnier when you say it that way. Ormond Temple Knight is going to be our next pick. I'm not too sure about the viability of the double range comp on this map. Do you think we might see another comp, maybe switching to the the other Red Canids comp that we've seen today?
I think it's entirely possible. You know, after you win a first game like that, you might feel comfortable sort of switching it up a little bit. Going with that other comp, we have, of course, seen sort of that older Blossom core with the Thorn, I believe, right? Which was very interesting. I think in that sort of situation, you've got to be careful of the just ability to run people that SSG still has. And I think in some ways, the way that they beat Dolos with that comp may not work against SSG, but I mean, like you said, I'm kind of a believer now. We just watched that game and it looked good.
Yeah, 5-3 was the end of that score, end of that game. A little bit of a surprising score, one that was pretty close, but at the end of the day, SSG couldn't pull it out ahead. And at this point, I think we should probably just stop considering Red Canids an underdog. I think these guys are a top-tier competitor that pretty much everybody here has to look out for.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, you know, for us, we just want to watch good games.
Yeah.
So if they come out swinging, they come out swinging, and that's great for everybody. It ups the level of competition at this tournament, and I think having this team that's doing really, really interesting stuff, and we have them in a couple of regions, to be honest. Like we talked about, we have Youngsung doing a lot of interesting things in pick ban. We have Red Canids coming in with some really meta-defining comps that people are having to actively try and build around. I mean, that's the most scary thing, right?
Yeah.
Red comes in with these comps with solid play, and then all of a sudden you're trying to play their game. You're trying to understand their game rather than do your own thing, and that's a scary position to be in.
Yeah, it's much more of a clash of metas and regions than we've seen when we've seen North America and Europe play. Of course, North America and Europe at this point, I feel pretty safe saying have kind of converged to a similar play style. Of course, there are key differences, but South America is just playing vastly different with that double support, playing so much differently, playing so coordinated and so patient. It's funny because the other South American team is they play very similar to how I would have expected North America to play maybe 6 months ago when we were still developing, when it was just like all rush down all the time. But Red Canids, they seem to have really elevated their game and like playing with their own style.
It's just very smart. I think you saw the way they played around their cooldowns to their specific conditions. I like to bring up, again, Ruben's use of Firewall, understanding sort of a pattern that occurs in the game. When you build that energy, you get an opportunity to do something. You know, you get a chip, you get to cash it in a certain way, and I think the way that they move around the map, they're willing to play a little bit far back. I like that quite a bit. I think the way they played the map was smart.
So we have some of the picks coming out. We actually have a Rook coming out for SSG, a character that I expected to see a little bit more today, but we haven't seen any of. How do you feel about this Rook pick into the potential Varesh Ashka Paloma?
I'm not really sure because the Varesh Ashka Paloma is such a sort of a new, sort of uncharted territory for just us as casters in general. I think on paper, Ashka is a very difficult time against Rook nowadays. There used to be a point in Battlerite history where I think Ashka was a very solid pick against Rook, but I think now everything from the charge movement speed increase to just the scariness of Rook M2, I think it's very difficult to kind of find yourself in a position where you have a cooldown advantage against Rook as Ashka, and as we talked about, Ashka wants to post up, wants to deal damage behind the firewall. Rook not going to care. He's going to let out the scream and he's going to charge across the map, hit you in the face. Yeah. And that can probably be pretty difficult. We've seen Proster be effective on this hero. Yeah,
Proster, of course his Rook used to be a bit of a meme, but at this point he's definitely practiced enough and he's looking very good on the character. I'm interested to see what support they pair with it and what range DPS as well. Of course, we might see the Rook Iva older that we saw last patch quite frequently. I feel like that's still secretly a very good comp, and I feel like it has a lot of strengths against the Varesh. Of course, the cleanse being available from the Zap Shield on Iva is absolutely irreplaceable just in terms of how valuable it is against the debuff of Varesh. And I just feel like in general they can also output the damage necessary. They have the taser to cleanse off the inhibitor's guard. Just so much value coming out of that Iva pick if we end up seeing it.
Yeah, for sure. And it looks like we are going to be seeing the Rook Iva older on the side of SSG, and then on the side of Red. We have a Jamila Bearish Blossom.
Okay,
Texas different.
Yeah, Texas Blossom earlier was absolutely incredible, so I have no doubt that he'll look good this game. And just in general, the Jamila pick earlier for SSG looked very strong. Excited to see how it looks here for Red. If there's a map it's good on, I think it's safe to say it's Orman as well.
I like the fact that they've adapted this a little bit. They saw that some of those other two key comps that we were kind of thinking of in the past, I don't think would be very good on this. You know, the key corridors of Orman 9, I just feel like it would be too difficult to find space as sort of a triple range comp, for instance, or as a double support to not just get worked into your base really, really easily, completely shut out of mid and just into sudden death every time. So I like the adaptation here, and I think the picks are smart. I haven't seen Ruben's Jamila, but I mean, I'm sure it's very good.
Yeah, I'm sure, and it's funny to see this because you and I on the way over were talking with Bacado, a South American player, about the South Americans and the amount of comps they could run. We were like, oh, I'm not really sure if Red Canids has a lot of different stuff they can run. I'm not sure. I think there might be kind of limited by their comps. But they're absolutely proving us wrong here with their third significantly different comp of the day. I'm very excited to see how it works for them. I have no doubt that they'll perform well based on their performances earlier today, but still, they do have to play against SSG, a team that has been dominating North America for a very long time, and I have no doubt that these guys are also capable of adapting.
Yeah, and I think, as we saw in the last series, there's a lot of learning to be done in a Battlerite Best of 5.
We got a game, ladies and gentlemen, in game 2 of our match of this Best of 5. Here we are with Battlerite. I had to do it to you at least once.
I'm not following up on that. It's not happening.
That's all right, dude.
You can pull me to Sweden, but you can't make me sing.
The Rook getting that Zap Shield to cleanse off the Judgment. Really nice start here for SSG. We see the value of the Rook pick, and man, the Jamila getting hit right after charge. The in-cap coming out too, but a beautiful counter there from Ruben allows him to get onto the backline. This orb, we'll see who gets it. It's looking like it'll be SSG's, and it is.
Yeah, not a bad start there for SSG. They've managed to deny the Jamila relatively well. Gets his counter hit, moving around all over the places. Proster's getting bounced around. I like the tractor being pulled from reverse as well. However, they aren't able to connect the older ultimate, and we kind of just go back to this holding pattern.
Yeah, that Dance of the Dryads forced out the older ultimate. Very favorable trade here for the red team. The ultimate, oh god, that ultimate being reflected quite a bit, but at the end of the day, they still find the kill on Ruben. The Rook ultimate going to get a ton of damage onto Aklo as well, and his older ultimate going to land onto the Varesh. So much damage coming out from this Rook comp, and honestly, I feel like Rook is one of the things you want to play into the defensive playstyle of red, especially with this comp. The amount of burst that you can put out with not Hand of Judgment, but rather Armor Break is just insane.
I like it quite a bit, and I like the adaptation to this comp from SSG. This seems like a comp that can break that fortress really well. I think it's a good pick here, and we saw as well versus tasers, of course, on point. The tractor beam pull is a very useful tool against Varesh, of course, because you can't counter it. You don't want to use your R on it as Varesh. What an important sort of iframe to have at your disposal, and plus the ability to relocate the Varesh just in the middle of your team, and then work the Iva and the Rook together to get some permanent damage on him. Very powerful.
Yeah, and just as quick as the round started, SSG cleaned it up 1-0 in game 2. Pretty good start for him. The counter of Jamila is procced, and that Phantom Cut being applied onto the older, both the older space and the Zapper used, so maybe a little bit unfortunate stacking of abilities here. Now, as a result, Bloom eats a shatter for it.
Yeah, but a great start from Proster as well. Aklo gets his counter hit purposefully so that he can reposition, and he's channeling the ultimate already. A sick body block from Ruben as well allows him to get another charge. This orb is going to be big, and it is going to go over to the side of SSG.
Yeah, and Ruben sitting on half HP and no energy, a very unfavorable situation for the Jamila, and Bloom is just posting up M1ing down the enemies. The Taser going to come out but not get enough value, and once again, Ruben's counter is not procced to Crooks. That's going to make it so he can't go in. Averse recognizes it and tries to find his own way in, but gets punished for it here. The ultimate of the older is going to land on the Blossom, and my god, the armor break damage is huge. The Dance of the Dryads is negated by the in-cap, but the damage has been done, and on the right side of the map, Bloom is dying. Ruben, will he be the traitor? Will these teams stabilize? It's looking like the red team is going to be able to stabilize, and blue, SSG secure their second orb.
Yeah, in classic SSG fashion, they're more than willing to sort of sacrifice Bloom, throw him to the wolves to try and get a little bit of damage, but I don't know if they've necessarily come out ahead because of it. Proster, nice purge on the Judgment there, so he's not going to take quite as much damage as the Verse. Wants to pull people in, wants to find an opportunity. Great interrupt by Aklo.
Wow.
What ability usage? Who is this guy?
Aklo's so smart, dude. He does get hit by this Taser here, though, and the orb goes to SSG once again. The Hand of Judgment being applied on a Verse here, and the Phantom Cut going to be cleansed off by the Zap. Things could still go either way in this situation. The older ultimate going to be forced out, and there are mobility spells to get the two members of Red Canids away from it. Now, Averse, he's getting so incredibly low, and Bloom is doing no better. SSG are falling.
Yeah, he's in a little bit of trouble here, as obviously Bloom has gone down. I think they just traded a little bit too much lasting HP on Bloom. They had trouble getting in at the end there. I don't know if that was necessarily a favorable trade on the side of SSG, because the start of that round honestly looked quite good for them.
Oh, that Boom Bloom Seed gonna hit mid-charge from Rook, and with it, Red Canids are gonna take round 2. Of course, the winner of this game, or the winner of this match, does qualify for the semifinals immediately tomorrow. So there's a lot on the line here. SSG not gonna feel too good about that round loss.
You know, it's honestly, we're watching such a high level of competitive battle right now. Just that round alone made me realize, like, watching these two teams respond to what each other were doing, whether it was everybody scattering when an older ultimate goes off, or the way that Aklo, of course, interacted with things like a versus tractor beam pull. I love watching these teams square up against each other. There's some really interesting things going on here.
Boom Bloom Teed. It's coming out, gonna get no value to start this one off, and Rook's counters procced, getting a nice bit of energy, farming off the M1s of the Varesh. The space gonna be used of the Jamila as well. Gonna get no value though, and a nice in-cap onto the Varesh. Proster playing beautifully.
Yep, the CC of Rook, especially against those big corridors of Orm and Knight, is going to be very, very important. This orb is big, goes to SSG, good amount of damage here. Aklo gets his counter hit as well, but Proster whiffs his counter as well. That's really going to cut down the ability for Rook to go in here. Beautiful
counter there from Ruben, not to take any damage and to let the Rook charge go through him. And Proster, he has to play a little bit safe here for a couple seconds. Oh no! Oh. The ultimate canceled out twice. The end cap going to follow up too. So much damage, and now Aklo, he has to ultimate just to get to safety. Beautiful play from SSG. They're not allowing that Varesh to take the round with the ultimate there.
Yeah, some great coordinated plays by SSG. They're canceling it 3 times, really ruining Aklo's day here. Proster on the run a bit from Jamila, doesn't really want to take that 1v1 matchup directly. In the meantime, Blue and Blue Metaverse able to get quite a bit of damage off. I like the Rook ultimate as well, just to chip some free damage on Jamila, as the Verse is going to jump in, gets that double EMP, though no taser value quite from the stun. Bloom's going to have to retreat this orb. They need this for the energy, and they aren't able to get it, as Red's going to sneak it, and Proster's going to go down.
Were you watching Ruben that round? He found himself in the least favorable of situations and managed to not only get out, but then secure the orb for his team. This round, of course, isn't over, but it's looking all but at this point. The older ultimate going to come out. The Varesh not going to get hit by that older ultimate, but instead the Blossom. But things are looking so good here for Red Canids as they pose up to secure this orb. It isn't taken by that rocket, and with it, the red team going to secure a massive advantage.
I'm just not too sure how they brought it back. You know, you look at a round like that where they cancel Aklo's ultimate twice and force him to waste it as a repositioning ultimate. You've got to be like, well, that was a fun round. That was a fun Varus round, right? That was really, really entertaining. You build up 5 bars energy, you have to waste it all so you don't die. And I mean, turns out it was fine.
Dude, yeah, Ruben, honestly, the savior of that round for Red Canids for me. He had a very clutch counter in the mid game that didn't allow Proster to connect a charge, and then immediately after, he got ultimated by a little bit after, he got ultimated by the Rook up top, but managed to not only sneak away, but he didn't proc a taser, which was very patient and very understanding of the situation he was in, and then he navigated all the way back to mid to not only secure the orb, but find the kill on the chasing Proster. Beautiful play from the Jamila.
Yeah, his movement, his positioning around the map has been quite nice. Averse switching up the playstyle a little bit, tries to go ham with that space, but gets judgment in immediately and forced to use the shield on himself.
Oh, Aklo, he's getting a little bit beat up here. That armor break being applied, and the boulder going to hit too. This time the counter of Ruben isn't procced, and he's going to be in a little bit of an unfavorable situation. He uses that R to get some damage out, and a nice shatter combo onto the Rook negates that first heal, but he manages to get the eat eventually. Bloom, he's now posting up, trying to get some damage onto the Jamila, and this is not going to be favorable. Jamila has to use all of her abilities to get back. The Dance of the Dryads comes out in an attempt to equalize the playing field here, and actually it's worked, as Red Canids have found themselves at a 10% HP advantage.
Yeah, and a very nice ult from Tex as well. Forces SSG to disengage, but they are still at a pretty substantial HP advantage. Averse in particular feels like he's just doing whatever he wants this round. Proster with a great ultimate. Love the timing on this. A lot of value out of that. Aklo just going to eat a huge chunk of real HP.
Dude, this is all but falling apart for Red Canids as all 3 charges of that Rook Tremor hit. Now the Forest Sanctuary are going to negate a lot of the damage coming out here, but with that counter not being procced, I feel so bad for Aklo. He actually pops off his ultimate and gets so much damage onto Bloom. They might be able to find the kill here as he has no more shield. The in-cap comes out as well, and a nice gust onto Averse negates the ultimate, and Blossom actually dies. They couldn't find the kill on the older, even with that. Oh, they finally do. This is still definitely doable for both sides, Crooks, but the Jamila's getting so low.
They needed that orb really bad, and they were able to get it on the side of SSG. Proster didn't take too much relevant damage from Aklo's ultimate. It's going to be a really, really dicey 2v2, though, as Jamila just sitting on a sliver of HP. Nice R by Aklo to avoid the charge. Reading his counter here is going to be huge. He doesn't counter the M2.
He's gone.
He's done. Yep.
Man, an incredible round, though. It looked like Red Canids had no business being anywhere close to winning this round. Whoa, Ruben? Ruben? Okay. Dude, Ruben has been looking so good on this Jamila. Even that fancy footwork down bottom to almost get the kill, even though it didn't end up working out. Very impressed with the way he's playing. And SSG, they barely squeaked that one out.
He's playing it very well. I love in particular his emphasis on movement with this comp. He's gone the Crimson Blur Battlerite, which gives him 70% fading haste inside of stealth, which really allows him to reposition very quickly early, just get in the game very, very fast and move around the map. It seems very, very strong. And again, that space recast Battlerite of Jamila's that almost single-handedly made her a viable hero in competitive play. The way he uses that reposition has been really potent.
Ooh, nice tree placement there from Tex. However, it is going to allow Proster to farm up some energy. He immediately procs the counter, though, and he's going to get punished hard for it, Crooks. His HP pool down below half with that R of Jamila connecting. The hook shot immediately after. The pressure from this Jamila is unrelenting. The counter is proc as well. More Phantom Cut. Proster is not feeling good.
Yeah, nice purge by Averse there, but Proster has lost such a huge chunk of his HP. Aklo gets baited into ulting a little. He had no energy. The EX tree by Tex is used, but that ability, not super high impact. They aren't able to follow up quite on a kill with Aklo yet. Averse, he's judgmented. He's going to get hit for a lot of damage, but a nice zap shield is going to purge some of that.
Yep, he's got that zap immediately after, and up top, the end cap just barely going to miss onto Ruben. This next orb incredibly important, and Red Canids managed to get it. This single-handedly brings Ruben back into the round. Now has a lot more to work with. The counter of the Rook is procced, which is a little unfortunate. The older ultimate, it's here. It isn't it is barely going to find a stun on the Blossom, and she's getting chunked.
Yeah, Proster's got to be so careful as Averse is actually going to go down, and it's looking like Red Canids, as long as they play this out safe, should be able to take out this one. Nicely placed tree as well is going to negate all of Proster's pressure.
Dude, this guy's reflexes are insane. Maybe I'm just an old man, or maybe he's just incredible, but he just like responded to that charge instantly, not taking any bait on a fake cancel cast, just understanding that he could wait until the charge started and immediately drop the tree right after it. And man, that might be one of those things that we can chalk up to being on LAN. That low ping really coming into effect there, allowing the tree to be dropped to negate that charge.
I think also all these guys really have it turned up to 11 here. These little mechanical, little plays that we've been seeing throughout this entire series are fascinating to watch. It's one of the reasons I love Battlerite. You've got sort of the macro idea of the game, the large scale, and then you've got those tiny little outplays like a tree placement that can win you a game, make a kill happen.
Once again, the tree negating the Rook's pressure, and it's not like last patch where he just has endless charges with endurance, but my god, I can't talk about Rook anymore because the HP of the Jamila is just gone. Beautiful taser from Averse there, stunning the Jamila immediately after she had the ability to use a skill. The orb is going to be secured by SSG as well. The counter's procced, so Ruben gets a little bit of room to use some abilities, but I think it might just be too late, Crooks.
Yeah, this is a Rook Iva older round for sure.
Yeah.
They definitely had Rook charge at your face, and you got tasered for sure, and you're just pretty much dead.
Yeah, the taser came out. Tex, he understands it's over, gonna let it end. Man, 3-3 after round 6. An incredibly tight game here. The ultimate from the Varesh not gonna get nearly enough value to get it off. He gets it canceled a couple times and gets popped before he gets it out.
Yeah, whenever, with this comp, really, if Iva and Rook are ever able to coordinate on one target, a person can just melt so fast, and that's what we saw there with Ruben, playing very far forward at the start, whiffing his counter, and you could kind of tell the moment he did it, he was standing in no man's land, he was in a bad situation.
Yeah, definitely not a desirable one. Now we're moving into round 7, 3-3, all tied up in game 2. Of course, Red Canids have a 1-game advantage in this best of 5. We'll see if they can keep it up and potentially win this and secure their seat in the semifinals.
It looks promising right now. We've already seen a really high level of competition.
Hand of Judgment coming out, gonna land onto the older, get a decent amount of damage. He hits another one. So much damage coming out from just the Varesh. And whoa, this is quickly falling apart for SSG.
Yeah, this is not feeling good. It feels like, once again, Proster not able to have a really great start. He and Averse on very different targets. The Gus is going to discourage that a lot as well, as SSG not able to confirm that orb. It's going to set Red Canids a little bit further. Nice in-cap, though. Averse breaks it with the flamethrower, but it's worth it for the damage, plus the boulder. And Ruben's been worked so hard. He has no counter. Averse smells blood. Yeah,
Ruben getting incredibly low. No energy either. They have to play a little bit safe here. Maybe babysit Ruben, make sure he gets back to a position where he can be successful. The older ultimate, it comes out, but it's not going to get any value. The Forest Sanctuary is dropped as well, and boy, oh boy, this is a big Varesh ultimate. It gets the orb and it hits 4, I believe. Now down bottom, the damage coming out onto the Averse. The Dance of the Dryads, it actually hits that last Chronosphere, but Rook, he still can't make it out of that, the damage coming out of Red Canids. The Iva ultimate coming out, getting a little bit of damage, but not nearly enough. And Red Canids, as quickly as they fell apart in the round prior to this, they dominate this one.
Yeah, rough start for SSG. Off of some nice forward play by Ruben. Again, I feel like if he's able to find opportunities to use his counter to absorb such a big instance of damage, especially, it's one of those things that might not be as clear to people who haven't spectated enough of the game, but like the idea of positioning, especially with counter heroes, the way Ruben stands very intentionally in front of Proster at the start of every single round, daring him, rush me. You're not going to get to my teammates, rush me. Maybe I'll counter, maybe I won't. And it really seems to be a big tempo setter in this game.
Boulder being thrown out. This time, charge going to be connected. The Rook having a lot of success down here. He finally gets silenced. Whoa, out of nowhere, his HP gets dropped to half. I thought that trade was favorable until that Varesh silence came out. The counter from Varesh isn't going to be hit, though, and now things are equalizing quite a bit. The damage onto the Rook is there. The Phantom Cut damage going to be negated by Bloom's space, but now Bloom going to get quite punished by this Varesh. He has the ultimate, however, going to be able to make it out okay. Round still very much up in the air. Down bottom, the ultimate from Varesh. Whoa, his ultimates have been sick.
Yeah, Aklo's great at aiming those, catching you right on the edge of those to get that, maximum distance, maximum range, give you the iframe and the damage. Proster's M2s have been pretty on point this game. He's gotten a good amount of damage in. Biffs his counter, though. Unfortunately, Attack's going to fire off another Blossom ultimate, cancels it just in time around the older bubble.
Yeah, that Dance of the Dryad's really good. Not hitting that Chrono Flex, taking the energy away from the older. A nice taser there down bottom onto the Jamila, not letting Jamila get any damage out. Ruben now has to go back up top, but he does have some green shards available. The Inhibitor's Guard accidentally dropped on the wrong character, and that's going to allow SSG to get the orb. Yep. Whoa, did you see that?
That interrupt
was
on the
so
charm.
sick.
What are we doing here?
Ruben's so good, dude.
What are we doing here?
The older ultimate going to get no value as well. The counter is procced of Ruben, going to allow him to place that Phantom Cut on the Iva and force out that space. Things now looking pretty good here for the red team as Red Canids have forced out a lot of abilities.
Yeah, Proster unfortunately whiffs his counter. He's caught out with that Blossom ultimate. Going to take quite a bit of damage. Nice shield by Averse to purge off that snare. And SSG, quickly as that, they're just going to try and reset only at a slight HP deficit. The Jamila counter gets procced. That Phantom Cut is going to be a big burst of damage on the Proster.
Yep, Proster not too happy about that. He does have enough energy for E, but he rather wants to keep it for the end cap. He has had to use the Eat and the counter and the M2. Proster having to play a little bit safe here for a couple seconds. We'll see if the Blossom dies, though. In the meantime, the end cap comes out with a sick quicksand. Cute freestyle combo coming out of SSG, and Ruben is getting so incredibly low. That tree gonna get eaten alive by the Rook, and things are looking pretty good here for SSG. If Red Canids are able to get the orb, could be good for him, and they do, but Tex, he just gets melted.
See that snap taser, the flick from Averse to catch Tex, pressing a button at the end there. The Jamila ulti, he's gonna fire it blind, knowing people are gonna be in the vicinity, and that's actually gonna do a pretty meaningful amount of damage, but he procs a great taser by Averse. The lockdown, the stun there is just brutal.
Yeah, he uses the Jamila ulti, but at the end of the day, it's a Jamila ulti. Not going to get any damage, or not going to get the kill with it. And now we're going to round 9 on Ormond Temple Night. SSG and Red Canids, so incredibly close. All right, Crooks, who's going to take this last round?
I think SSG is going to take it. I think it's going to be 1-1. I saw those taser procs there. I think they're starting to come online in a really big way. The disruption from SSG is really going to be an important part, in particular, to stop the Jamila on this map. I think their comp has a general advantage on this map. I think it's a strong pick, knowing what map they were going to be on. And Red Canids is playing really fantastic, but I feel like SSG, as long as they play to their outs, I feel like that's an easier condition to meet.
We'll see if this goes in the way you expect it to. Iva gonna get hit by that Bloom Boom early on, and she hits the counter immediately after. Great start here. Oh, but a nice Zap Shield gonna negate the damage from that Phantom Cut on the Rook. But Older, he's not so fortunate.
Oh, the M2s from Proster have been so much better these last couple of rounds. He's locking down Varesh so hard. There's the first orb confirmed for the side of SSG. The bubble placement is great, discouraging a lot of Varesh's aggression. M2's the silence. Tex is spaced in. He's got to be so careful. SSG, they know what happened. They know what happened. And Ruben, he's just running around trying to create some space for his team. The older ultimate's going to come down and lock down Aklo.
Yeah, a lot of damage coming out onto Aklo off the back of that older ultimate, but things actually looking much better than I had expected. SSG, however, still at a pretty significant advantage, and they'll take the orb. That's their second of the round. The end cap not going to land onto Aklo down bottom. And Red Canids, they've been able to stabilize, but we'll see if they're able to find a favorable trade here.
Yep, and I like this attention from Proster, trying to lock down Tex a little bit more, wastes his iframe, thinking that older ultimate is headed for him. Unfortunately, hits that Jamila counter at the end there. They're shield him, he's forced to get away, so they don't have a whole lot of cooldowns on the side of Red Canids.
Yep, the tree is dropped to heal up Ruben, but still the Rook, they don't really have an answer at this point, as he's just able to do whatever he wants. He has that HP to work with, and he is that hungering berserker you don't want him to be. He charges in and lands onto Aklo, farming up another bar of energy for that eat, but he no longer has a counter, Crooks. This could be really bad as there's no zap available, but he has the charge to get out. Narrowly avoiding a terrible situation, Proster lives.
Very fortunate that he had those cooldowns available, and now the orb is up. SSG up 3 orbs, so only 1. They have a resource advantage here. Aklo forced to arc, should be able to make something happen here. Here comes the older ultimate, directly aimed for Tex. They might be able to open up, make a kill happen, but yeah, the lockdown there.
I can't believe that hit the older on the left side too, and now the Blossom doing her job and healing herself up, and up top, Proster's getting so incredibly low. The taser comes out, and Red Canids are able to get the orb. This is looking so good for them. All of a sudden, both Proster and Bloom don't have very much HP to work with.
Yep, there goes the Varesh counter. This means Proster gets an opportunity to go in, is going to land
the Iva!
Versus dead in the backline. This could be it. Red Canids are going to go up 2-0 against SSG.
Dude, this is insane. If there's a storyline this event to look out for, it's Red Canids dominating the scene. Coming out on land and taking game 2 in this best of 5, now up 2-0. My God, these guys are playing incredibly. Ruben played so well, not only on his Ashka game 1, but his Jamila. It's the best I've ever seen this game. He had such a high impact consistently, using so little abilities and having such a high impact. Just so impressive. Wow.
His positioning is really interesting, the way he sort of traverses the map, getting his counter proc. He had some great interrupts with the hook shot as well, working with his teammates. It's just been so good.
Yeah, Ruben playing incredibly well. And Red Canids, they're now up 2-0. And Crooks, I gotta break it to you, we haven't even seen the double support comp yet. We haven't seen the double support comp, so we do not know how SSG is going to be able to adapt if Red Canids lose the next game and then try to change up their comp. I feel like this is just such a dominant position from Red Canids. To be honest, I'm not sure how they lose this match from this point.
It's a little bit unbelievable to know that they still have one more comp in their back foot that they haven't even expanded to yet. And I mean, what an insane one to have on the back foot. That's the one that looked so dominant against Dolos. Yeah. And the fact that they still have that is kind of unbelievable. That being said, I think a lot of these games are very close. I mean, that was a 4-5. And again, we always talk about in these longer extended series, you lose a game like that, maybe you're still confident in running it back. We can play it better. We understand it more now. There are rounds that we lost last time that we shouldn't lose next time. You know?
Yeah, and I mean, that was incredibly close. Of course, the 4-5. Both of these games so far have been 4-5, the epitome of close. It does not get any closer than this, and both of these teams playing so incredibly well. But now SSG, they've lost with 2 different comps against 1 comp of Red Canids. What else do you think SSG have in the arsenal that they can bring to the table?
I think it just depends entirely on what Red Canids are planning on playing. I think they're going to be reading the draft very much in that situation. We talked a little bit about the potential role of Varish against that double support comp, which I think is interesting, but they're not going to play Varish unless they see that sort of double support comp headed their way. So I think if Red Canids tries to run back some of their more standard comps again, I think we could see something that SSG has already played, but just doubling down, you know, trying to make those adaptations, understanding the win condition that comp is trying to meet, because these games have been close. You know, there's a lot of parity here, and I really feel that either of these could go either way. Given another run back, anything can really happen in this series, but if you're SSG, you're definitely nervous right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, you're going down 2-0 in a game that would qualify you for the semifinals tomorrow and secure quite a chunk of change for you. But in this game 3, we're going to have Blackstone Arena night. One thing comes to mind when I see this map. I think of Taya, and we have a verse on the side of SSG. Do you think that Taya could possibly be a good pick into what Red Canids are running?
I'm not sure. It seems like the way that SSG historically has always played Taya is very much around like the tempo swing, the kind of burst, enabling Proster to do a lot of damage with the wind bombs, with the setup. And I don't know if it's that viable to expect to be able to get that against some of the comps that Red Canids is running. I don't know. The Taya doesn't speak to me as a pick that is terribly strong against this. I much more favor like the Averse Jumong against this. I think is something that could potentially be a lot more consistent. We saw his pop-off rounds on that hero were real pop-off rounds.
They were pretty crazy.
And if you can try and replicate that, if you could try catch lightning in a bottle, I think you're going to look a lot better than trying something like Taya.
Yeah, I feel like the Taya is just so incredibly scary. I just had to bring it up as a result of Averse being in the game, you know?
Oh, of course.
But I do feel like the Taya, very problematic against both that very patient play style of the double range. Sometimes you'll just get Hand of Judgmented and burst down when you don't have a Zephyr or a Tornado, and you can't really go up in that range. Taya wants to play the mid-range with those M1s, throw them out, and throw out an X-Strike occasionally. But if you're playing that range against a Varesh, you're just going to get Hand of Judgmented, or you're just going to eat the Fireball from Ashka and just have to play so far back. Just really not something that Taya succeeds in. The Jumong, however, I think could be very good. In terms of support, what do you think Bloom could possibly switch to? Do you think there's a possibility of the Lucy pick? We saw Clerney have a decent amount of success with the Lucy against Red Canids, and we know Bloom is a very good Lucy player.
It's an interesting idea if you think you're facing down the barrel of this loaded Paloma comp. Again, the idea of potentially switching to the Lucy could be good. I could see it happening. I think Older is just such a strong hero in this meta, though, and when I look at the issues that SSG had, it feels like Older was a very consistent foundation of the team, that there was nothing really criminal happening there. There was nothing where I could look and say, well, Older, that wasn't that great of a pick here, because I think against a lot of what Red Canids is running, Bubble, just the Older Bubble is an incredibly useful ability to block out part of the map, especially create space for Proster where the ranged heroes can't interfere with his plan as much.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not too sure, sold on the Older pick. Of course, Older, a very, very strong character, but I gotta say, Bloom's Older did not impress me all that much in that last game. A lot of time his Chrono Fluxes were either a little bit late or really low impact. Earlier on when we saw Red Canids playing the older, it seemed like the chronofluxes were always perfect in hitting that first projectile. A lot of the time we saw him only hitting like the third Dance of the Dryads from the Blossom. It seemed like he just wasn't getting the value out of it that I've seen other olders. For that reason alone, I'm not sure that the older pick could be is the best pick for them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance. I like the idea of the Lucy, honestly, and I think we talked a little bit about comfort when I was casting with Jolts, and I think the idea of going to maybe that comfort pick in this situation, you're down with your back to the wall, is this where we see the legendary Bloom Lucy, on land? And I think it is possible. We are going to see the picks come out, and it looks like they are going to be running the Taya, so I'm going to have to eat my words, and we are going to see Proster on Jamila. I'm interested in this Taya pick. I'm on board with the Lucy. I'm on board with the Jamila, absolutely. I think these are heroes that can punish this double support comp that we are going to be seeing out of Red Canids here. But a part of me, I see a verse on the Taya, and I just think, man, double rain of arrows, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dragon Slayer, though.
It's interesting. I feel like when you the Dragon Slayer from the Jumong, very scary against this comp because not only is there a Gust, but there's also a Chronoflux. And we saw the older of Aklo earlier on. Like I mentioned, his Chronofluxes were always on point. It seemed like Jürgen, in the most key moments, was just getting boxed out and not able to put out the damage he needed to be able to put out.
Yeah.
So for that reason alone, I do think the Jumong is kind of scary into this comp. I'm just overall very scared for SSG. Of course, like I mentioned, they fell down 2-0 already, and Red Canids, they have a couple of games to work with. Even if they lose this game, it's not the end of the world, and SSG, at this point, they're ill-equipped to deal with this. SSG was planning on playing Dolos. They don't have any experience versus double support comp, and a lot of this stuff, like you mentioned earlier on in the series, it's a lot of it has just been theory crafted in the past couple hours.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a lot different talking about it versus playing it. Very different.
Yeah. Going to be very scary for SSG here. We'll see if they're able to do it. I really like the Thorn pick as well. A Thorn into Taya, very good, as of course you can just, if you ever land that Entangling Roots on a hasted Taya, you just ruin her day, man.
It seems very difficult too because you can snatch Lucy from across the map, Blossom hit her with that weakening M1, and what are you going to do? You're just going to be sitting there spinning in place.
Yeah, you're just unhappy like, well, I guess I'll move eventually.
Yep, eventually I'll get to leave.
Game 3, boys. Let's go. We have SSG versus Red Canids. We'll see who takes this one. Don't worry, Crooks. I'm not going to sing this time.
All right, good.
Not gonna put you in that situation. I know you don't want to have fun. Red Canids, Spacestation Gaming, Game 3 of this best of 5. Red Canids up 2-0 in a bit of a shocker. We'll see if they can keep it up here. Proster is starting this one off hot with a double in cap in the back, though.
Yeah, I love the Barb Test timing, though. He kind of knew Proster was going to be going for that Jamila, the long amount of stun and lockdown. Manages to get his counter hit as well. And already Red Canids being pushed so far back, but you see the roll, the pull. As we said right there, Bloom just relocated out of his happy place.
Dude, yeah, you talked about how Red Canids were pulled back, but at this point, do they care? Look at the HP advantage. Even with the orb being taken, 68 additional HP going to the side of the blue team. They're still down 10%, Crooks. And Red Canids, they're sitting pretty here. Proster's counter's not procced either. And Red Canids, they're playing their game right now, Crooks. Playing so safe down bottom, getting the maximum amount of value out of their abilities. And Proster, his counter's not getting hit at all. This is not looking good to start this game off for SSG.
I can't believe that a game would start like that with SSG playing their style, running at them, wanting to put the screws to them, not letting them set up with this double support comp, and all of a sudden it's just that HP lead just evaporated.
Yeah.
It's kind of unbelievable to watch. SSG taking 2 orbs to 0 as well, and at the end of the day, Red Canids sitting with 70% of their total HP.
For a really long time in North America, we dealt with the unrelenting aggression of SSG, and the European players, whenever we talked about it, they were just like, play better. I feel like Red Canids are the first team that I've seen deal with SSG's aggression and play better. They are playing so incredibly well, capitalizing on every lack of cooldown from SSG. These guys are playing absolutely flawlessly, and I feel so good for them moving forward.
It's just so clean. Their target selection in particular, the way they work around each other is all so good. Their teamwork, their positioning is very nice.
Yeah, Taya taking a little bit of damage to start this one off, and the end cap from Jamila immediately being broken on Older, and no damage has come out from that onto the side of Red Canids. So much healing with this double support comp, but finally it's starting to add up. However, even more has been returned onto Proster.
Yeah, and the tree placement, again, from Tex blocks quite a lot of damage. SSG going to be able to confirm that first orb. I like the very liberal usage of the Taya ultimate by Averse. This is a real way to stick damage to Red Canids, a real way to make some plays happen. Nice incap from Proster as well, using that iframe to dodge the Boom Bloom. Averse, look at those footsies dodging all of the AoE from Red.
That Dance of the Dryad's not going to get nearly as much value as was returned onto him for it. Tex getting punished quite hard for that, but he does heal up, and they actually are still at a very even place here. The orb, second orb, going to SSG, but still, Red Canids are very equal in this one.
Yeah, Averse at top, just farming energy over and over again with Taya, throwing those X-Strikes. Proster in a lot of trouble right now. The barrier, nice, manages to iframe that Horn Barrow just in time. They get a lot of damage on him, and a second Taya ulti for the game. Nice goo by Bloom, but unfortunately knocking Ruben out, sparing his life, sparing him a little bit of damage at least, but somehow he was able to get a Petrify off on Averse.
SSG managed to take that orb, which is absolutely massive. The EXM2 from the Thorn used on it. The Dance of the Dryads needs to be huge, and it is! Crooks, the Tornado and Barrier are also stacked onto Proster. He's going to have to play so safe, as is the rest of SSG. They are totally lacking cooldowns for the next 5 seconds.
Yeah, as Averse going to charge forward, look for that reset. The orb is up. Proster's going to go ahead and confirm that as Bloom and Averse just trying to play with their HP a little bit to make some space for Proster, but Averse is going to give up a lot of his own. Already going for the Numbnut special, doesn't manage to land it as the older ultimate's going to come out. What can they get done? Nice EXQ from Taya to reposition there, but here's the Thorn ultimate. This is really problematic.
Barrier and Tornado stacked again, Crooks. This is not a good look, and the Taya gets pulled in. There's no Zephyr. She's going to fall, Crooks. She actually barely manages to make it away. Averse just able to make it out of that one, and the first orb of the round for Red Cannon's going to be taken now.
Yep, nice clarity by Bloom to attempt to reset this, but nobody on the side of SSG has any HP. Textbook Barb Huss there. Stop the X-Strike. All the momentum from SSG is cut. They Tornado the grab yet again, but these are cooldowns that Red can just throw out whenever they feel like it.
Spacestation Gaming playing so scared here. Of course, Proster having no HP. He gets hit by the tip of that Dance of the Dryads too, and they find the kill on Lucy. Crooks, Red Canids are going to win this round.
Unbelievable. I mean, what a strong start from SSG as well. I thought when Averse, again, got that Taya ultimate so early, they would be able to capitalize. They'd be able to convert that into a lot of meaningful damage, and at the end of the day, they just weren't. It feels in particular like Proster's Jamila, he's playing not to lose rather than playing to win. It almost feels like he's using so many of his iframes in a purely defensive fashion, you know, to move around the map. And I feel like the position you really want to be in is to move around the map while dealing damage, while applying those phantom cuts, while, you know, putting the screws to your enemies. And it just feels like he's not able to do that. He's sort of this dancing pinata with a little bit of HP that they're just trying to whack constantly. And it just feels like his impact is not as high as we would usually expect from Proster.
Yeah, I feel like there's a little bit of maybe nerves playing into SSG here too, as we saw twice that round Barrier and Tornado be stacked, something you definitely can't have happen at the highest level of Battlerite. Beautiful Barbed Tusk here. The Thorn negating a lot of the damage that would come onto him, and the X-Strike, a rare miss from Averse. A lot of things going wrong here for SSG, but they finally get a decent chunk of damage onto the Thorn.
Yep, the Thorn's going to have to reset. Uses Burrow defensively, definitely not what you want. Man, that EXM2 from Thorn hurts so bad. And it's sort of interesting the way Averse is playing this matchup. He's sort of sticking very firmly to the top of the map, trying to farm that energy. I like the goo from Bloom. Put a little bit of damage to Tex, but he's going to be able to sort of waddle out of that slowly with the support healing from his tree. Averse goes for the risky reset, but he's put himself in a bad situation.
This is so bad, Crooks, and the counter's not proc from the Jamila as well. The Dance of the Dryads isn't going to get any value, and Space Station Gaming is going to be able to get the orb, but even with that orb take, they're down 10% HP. Red Cannon's playing so beautifully. The older ultimate, let's see it. He lands it onto the Jamila, and the stun from the Boom Bloom is going to follow up. The entangling roots too. So much CC landing from Red Cannons here, getting so much value reliably. And Proster, he's just getting ruined, Crooks.
Yeah, he's once again just dancing around, doesn't get his counter hit. The orb is up, and blue team is going to be able to secure it. So SSG up 3 orbs to 0. Averse with another Taya ultimate. What's he going to be able to do here? A lot of damage on Older. He's forced to space, but they can't really get in a position to follow up. What a grab with the entangle. Bloom very far away from his teammates. Can't get too much done, but they do manage to confirm a kill there. Finally nailing somebody down.
Yeah, the Tornado is available from the Taya as well, so Averse is able to get away there. Thorn gonna finally fall to the EXM1, and Tex gonna go down next. And SSG, that round didn't look great for him from the start, but they do manage to claw it out.
Man, they had to work so hard for that. It's actually unbelievable. It felt like the entire time, this is a very new sort of response to the aggression that we've seen, is they're just so comfortable playing outside of mid. That's the craziest thing about watching Red Canids, is they're more than happy to just fall back. Just
they're like, take the orb, take the orb.
Doesn't matter. You can have the orb. I don't need it, you know? And it's very interesting to watch, because I feel like we've never really seen a response like that start to work against a strategy as, you know, widely used as SSGs.
SSG playing so much more safely to start this one out, but as I say it, Proster, he's running in, he's trying to find value. The X-Strike is going to be dodged by the space of Aklo, but still, the damage has been done to the Older by the Lucy! Crooks, where did her HP go?
Just constant damage being stacked into Bloom. His teammates were playing so aggressive that they opened him up to just get farmed by the enemy team. That being said, Proster may be able to cash in that space for a lot of damage on Ruben, and he's suffering pretty heavily. That Jamila ultimate, poorly placed, unfortunately. Not going to do too much damage there.
Jamila finally going to fall. The Thorn getting kind of low. Maybe they're able to find a kill on her, but not quite. They do get a kill onto Ruben. This could still go either way, of course. Very scary round. The orb going to go to SSG, which is very significant in this 2v2 situation, but the HP advantage is still in favor of the red team. Red pulling pretty far ahead here with this green pickup from Aklo. EXM1 going to be thrown out, trying to get some extra damage onto a Verse. The Petrify is there, and with it an X-Strike, but a really nice forward Sanctuary from Tex negates most of that damage. This next orb is up. We'll see who gets it. If red team gets it, they might just run away with this round. However, they don't.
Yeah, and Tex used his space in an attempt to confirm that, so he's going to get gooed by Bloom here. The Clarity not going to be able to bounce him in as a Verse. He's going to go for that reset.
Oh, that Chrono Flux!
He's gone for such a risky reset here, and he's not going to get too much value out of his ultimate, or is he? The shield just barely stays alive, which means that he can stay mounted, keep the boomerangs going. He's going to be able to confirm all the resources on the map. Nice control there by SSG. This next orb is going to be very, very important, and Red Canids managed to take it.
Yeah, Red Canids barely get that one, but that Wind Bomb plus M1 from a Verse going to clean up the Blossom, and Aklo going to fall next. SSG, they've evened it out 2-2.
Very impressive. I like that little finishing Wind Bomb combo there. That's just standard of Verse right there.
Yep.
Easy M1 confirm, lock somebody down. Very, very nicely played. But again, feels like that round again was just a slog through the mud to make that happen.
It's interesting to see how this is going, though. I mean, you and Jolts talked about it. You talked about the power of being comfortable on a character. The Taya plus Lucy picks working out for SSG, even though it's maybe a little bit of a less favorable matchup. Looking very comfortable.
Yeah, it's clear that SSG is getting sort of a better grip against how to play against this team with their insane level of team coordination. But the question really is, how long is it going to take for them to fully adapt?
Jamila getting so much damage out onto the Older to start this one out. The Boom Bloom Seed is going to negate some of the pressure, and the shield is hit. Proster, his counter is not hit. A little bit unfortunate for him. We'll see who gets this orb. It's going to be very important, and SSG gets it.
Yeah, very nice orb confirmed from them. They've been good about the orbs the entire time. The Taya ultimate is going to come out. The bubble in an attempt to reflect that, but look at that. He's just going to go hard on the Older. Unfortunately, he's going to get petrified for free there. Jamila doing your best to stop Thorn pushing forward. I like the ultimate from Tex there, but they are going to be able to incap him during it. And once again, Red Can is pushed really far back as the next orb comes up.
They do pull in the Lucy and force out the roll, which is very good. The Dead Root's going to come out now. Wow, the amount of damage onto the Jamila is insane. The barrier's forced out, but it's not going to protect anything. Very unfortunate there. We'll see if Ruben takes a bit of damage here. He does get that Phantom Cut applied on him, but the Burrow's available, Crooks. He manages to not take that damage thanks to the iframe, and a beautiful Barb Tusk negates a huge chunk. Now the Aklo dropping his ultimate, the Thorn relocating very safely. They're going to try to take this orb, and they will get it.
Yeah, I like the goo here to actually just lock Red Canids into the corner. This is when a Verse can really get some work done with the extract. The Jamila's on a nicely timed Barb Husk here, but the Wind Bomb, luckily he got entangled there, so he couldn't actually capitalize on that. Nice bubble placement as well by Older to allow Red Canids to move out just a little bit, but Texas spaced.
Yep, the Dance of the Dryads is there too, used to try to negate any potential damage from the Jamila. Red team, Red Canids, they get another orb, and now this HP lead is mounting. 2 CCs coming out as well onto both the Jamila and the Lucy. Lucy forced to bury herself, and the Dead Roots is there. This is not a great situation as the recast of Proster's space. Oh gosh, the Older ultimate barely gets the Blossom out of there. Could have been a very bad situation, but still SSG is not looking good. They don't get that orb either.
Yeah, this is kind of just death by starvation here as Jamila with no energy, no HP, desperately trying to hit the tree to gain a little bit here. He's back in the back line with the Lucy barrier. Verse has yet another ultimate. Older could potentially go down here. Nice panic by Bloom, but unfortunately he's not able to land that DI on him. The X-Strike comes out, but unfortunately everybody on Red Canids still alive as the Verse has no HP to work with, no energy, no EX, and he's going to get finished off.
No energy, no EX, no life. A Verse the first to fall. Proster and Bloom, all that are left. Bloom goes down next. The orb, it's taken by Red Canids. And man, it's crazy to see how these rounds change so swiftly when Red Canids start to secure a couple orbs. Generally, we see the blue team SSG secure orb after orb up until like the the third orb, but this time, right after the second, the third orb, it was taken by Red Canids, and the momentum immediately swung as a result. We saw Bloom drop the goo up in that corner, not getting any value, not getting the orb, and Red Canids, when they had that extra energy to work with, kind of looked like a cakewalk for him.
It's very difficult to really land meaningful ultimates on these guys. We see a Verse farming them over and over again, but it feels like the lasting amount of damage he gets from it is just not that much.
Yeah. We'll see if he's able to get more moving into this next round. Of course, round 6. If Red Canids manage to win this one, they are in the semifinals. If SSG loses, they have to play against Dolos down bottom. Pretty scary situation, and this time Tech's taking a decent amount of damage from Proster, but Proster, he takes quite a beating.
Yeah, the Jamila, of course, is locked in top. Unfortunately, gets his counter hit. Oh, on top of that wind bomb, the follow-up potential is very nice. With the in-cap as well, allowing Averse to confirm M1 after M1. The double hits really start adding up there. They've got to be a little bit careful. What a Thorn ultimate. Has Averse completely trapped in the corner. Look at the damage there. He has the executed trying it out, but he gets rooted, and they're going to kill him off of it.
Dude, I thought for sure that round would go in favor of SSG. Their opener was absolutely impeccable. A deadly inject was shared over 2. A double in-cap followed up immediately after, but no kill was found for the side of SSG. The older ultimate's going to be dropped. Aklo going to reposition very safely. This is upper bracket life on the line for SSG. Space Station Gaming, if they lose one more round, Red Canids are going to be in the semis.
I mean, that Thorn ultimate was absolutely unbelievable.
It was disgusting.
Like, Ruben deserves that MVP because the use of that there, pinning Averse against the wall, the way that these guys play the map is just so effective.
Yeah.
I'm starstruck.
Yeah, Ruben's Thorn in general, something Findable Carpet and I talked a lot about during the regular season of the BPL is that Thorn ultimate sucks. Ruben makes this ultimate really shine. We have seen a lot of Thorns consistently with their ultimates, but I feel like Ruben's ultimates reliably are high impact. Ruben showing the rest of the world how Thorn should be played.
Love the cancel casting here, forcing SSG to really think twice. The pull on Averse around the wall, just allowing Older to really open up on him with damage. Blossom in the backline, doing his thing. Nicely timed bar pass as well. Again, Averse looking for those resets. We'll see what he can do, but Red Canids sneak the first orb.
Yep, the Petrify coming out onto Natea as well. She finally is able to get away, but Ruben, he navigates the minefield that is that X-Strike. He almost next levels Natea there, but not quite. But Red Canids, they found themselves in their happy place. They're back in this corner, healing up as that double support comp. Very scary for SSG here. If they don't get this next orb, this round could be all but over. Luckily for them, oh, they don't! That pull! Ruben!
1 HP.
Who is this guy? The Dead Root's coming out as well, getting a decent amount of damage. Proster, he doesn't eat the stun from the older ultimate. Aklo just barely missing it, and now Ruben getting pretty low here. He's gonna have to play very safe. The Barbed Husk negating a decent amount of the damage. Proster, way too scared to go in there, but that triple goo from Bloom, getting so much damage out. However, at the end of the day, this is double support. They are going to heal up to their max, but Crooks, their max is getting low.
It definitely is. That Phantom cut forces Ruben to space as well. This could be an opening for Proster to get some serious damage, but they're going to focus on Older instead, but he decides to just open up on Taya. This ultimate is going to be huge. What can Averse get done with this?
Wow, Ruben reliably hitting these entangling roots on the Taya. Such a hard task. We'll see if he lives here, though. The Barbed Husk is used. The counter is procced. Very unfortunate here, and because of it, Thorn will fall. Beautiful counter from Proster, going to secure Space Station Gaming a lead in this round.
These rounds are unbelievable. They're so back and forth. Red Canids, they're so difficult. When they get down to 10% HP, you'd swear they get a damage reduction buff across their entire team. They're so slippery, so difficult to finally kill. It's because they all back each other up so well. All the cooldowns are being used with intent. We talk about it a lot. These high-level players, everything they do is for a purpose. You know, whether they acknowledge it or not, every button means something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the way these guys use their utility cooldowns is just so impressive.
Crooks, I hate to break it to you, though. Red Canids, they're still on the verge. Space Station Gaming cannot lose a round. They need to win 2 more. We'll see if they're able to do it. This is round 8. If Red Canids take this one, they're going to be in the semifinals of the biggest Battlerite tournament in history. We'll see if they can do it. A very favorable start for Space Station Gaming this time, as the Older forced to space back. He eats an in-cap here too, and a nice barrier negates a lot of the damage coming out of the Proster. But still, this is not too great.
Yeah, not a bad Petrify early by Bloom. I like that strategy of just trying to lock them down. The grab, unfortunately, not able to secure the orb. Look at Bloom, trapped over there without his teammates, just forced to secure the orb on his own. Nice cancel from Proster, double cancel from Proster there, locking down Ruben quite effectively.
The Tornado going to be forced out by the Bloom seed. The Petrify coming out onto Tex as well. Aklo trying to find some damage. He's sitting on that ultimate, Crooks. We'll see what he manages to do with it. If he finds a big stun onto the Lucy or the Jamila, this round could just be over. The Dance of the Dryads is here, and that damage coming out, the older ultimate not going to land onto anybody of SSG, but they do get the orb on the side of Red Canids.
Yeah, that orb secure is huge. Wow. Bloom just got bubbled out, forced to roll. That's like 2 huge cooldowns on the side of Lucy. A lot of Bloom's impact potentially cut down. Nice Phantom cut onto Ruben. He's going to burrow, still take that damage. The follow-up from Proster is there with the wind bomb from Averse. The bubble is nice, but it's not really going to discourage SSG too much as Averse has gotten that reset. This orb is huge. They really need need one of these, and they're going to go ahead and take it.
Yeah, Bloom doing a great job claritying it back, recognizing that Ruben was pulling it every time. Not going to let Red Canids get it. However, this game's still very even. Ruben getting pretty low here. He pops off the dead roots, but it might be a little too late. The older ultimate's there. He's going to help his ally get out, but Ruben's HP very low, Crooks, down to 42 max.
Yeah, and SSG, they just want to be so
sick.
careful. What a
Ruben's
move.
so good.
What's going on here, man? I don't understand it. This is 4-dimensional underwater chess.
Ruben playing so incredibly well, hitting the Jamila at the end of that EX space, recognizing exactly where she would be. Red Canids, though, they're still in a very undesirable situation. There's no counter on Proster, so they might be able to find a punish here, but the barrier's available. Now Ruben, he will fall.
Finally, I love what Proster's been doing. I feel like Proster's been putting a lot more attention on just holding down that M1 button on Thorn.
Yeah.
And we've seen that has been such a weakness of Thorn, especially in the matchup against like Shifu of old. You know, the Shifu just gets on you, M1, 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 M2, and you've lost like a quarter of your HP, you know?
Yeah.
And it feels very similar with Jamila, where Proster's trying to force Ruben to use some of his more offensive cooldowns like his burrow defensively to get himself away from the melee pick on the side of SSG. And I like that because it feels like it takes a lot of pressure off of Bloom and Averse, allows them to get done what they need to get done. And again, another game in this series going to 4-4.
Yeah.
Except this is upper bracket life on the line for SSG and merely a one-game loss.
Yeah, this
for Red
is
Canids.
Very scary. Red Canids, they can afford to lose this round. However, SSG cannot. Space-Station Gaming going to have to play very well here if they want to stay in this best of 5. Of course, they'll have to win the next three full games, not just this one. We'll see if they manage to take this one alone, though. Ruben, he gets manhandled a little bit here. The Clarity Potion knocking him back into his own spawn, and the Phantom Cut being applied. Not a desirable situation. He does get that entangling roots onto Proster's Jamila. Proster, he's kind of found himself in no man's land, but what he has done is applied enough pressure to secure his team the orb.
For sure, and he's done his job this game. It feels like, once again, Red Canids is trying to creep in, but SSG is denying them. Averse has gotten his resets very well, managing his space effectively, has a lot of energy to play with here. Wow. Ruben gonna use the Barbed Husk for a decent amount of damage. Averse manages to dodge the entangle as well and get that reset, so this is really a round where Averse can start heating up.
Or the Dance of the Dryads coming out up top, forcing the Tornado, the ultimate here from Aklo, but they're not going to be able to land it. Red Canids do not get the orb either, but they get a pretty decent chunk of HP out onto Proster. The Time Bomb's still on him too. He's still going to take that tick. The Boom Bloom Seed barely going to miss the Taya. And now Ruben, he's taking a lot of damage, Crooks. Beautiful ultimate from the older to get his ally out. Ruben would have been all but dead if Aklo had not dropped that bar of energy on him.
Absolutely, and Averse more than willing to cash out that Taya ultimate, try and find some damage here real quick. As Proster just looking for his end. They definitely have an advantage right now, but they need to play this, you know, very solidly to try and actually close a killer. Ruben has energy for Barbed Husk, but he's more than willing to sort of delay Proster there. Uses the Husk. This is when SSG really wants to push forward. You can see they have Red Canids in their base.
Yeah, Ruben not having as high impact as he was in the rounds prior. We'll see if they manage to kill the Taya here, but they're not going to be able to. Ruben's going to fall, as is Tex. Looking like we're going to go to Game 4, Crooks.
Yeah, SSG answer with a win of their own. Incredible.
Yeah, very well played from them. And like I said, we are going to be going to Game 4 as a result, but an incredibly close match at that. And the Space Station Gaming are not quite anywhere near running away with this one just yet. Red Canids, I wonder if we'll see them switch back to the comp we saw them have success with earlier. Of course, Space Station Gaming, they had all the time to theorycraft the comp for the double support comp of Red Canids. But Red Canids still have that other comp, which they were successful with 2 games in a row, that Ashka Varesh Paloma. I wonder if we'll see him switch back to it.
I think it's pretty likely. That being said, once again, we have another 4-5 situation on our hands, so I can't stress enough how I feel like going into the pick ban, a lot of these players will be more than willing to just run it back. Just say there was a 1-round difference there between moving on and having to play another game. Like, do we feel comfortable running it again? Are there better things we can do? That being said, I feel like in a big way, SSG started to figure them out a little bit at the end. You saw them go down at a pretty significant round deficit there and then beat match point multiple times to come back. And that really speaks to me as something that maybe they've figured out. Maybe they have a heightened understanding of what exactly is going on here.
Now, Crooks, I don't mean to detract from the series we have at hand, but I have some pretty exciting news. The results of the Impact Youngsung match. Impact lost 3-1. Youngsung take it against Impact 3-1 in Group B. That is a dominant score.
This is LAN.
Dude,
I guess this is BPL LAN.
Ninjas at LAN,
this
dude.
This is different. Ninjas at LAN, the
Ninjas
buff.
at LAN. Oh my god. Wow.
Unbelievable.
That match must have been an absolute demonstration of skill. Both of those teams, the highest of respected teams in their region. And Youngsung, I thought there was no way they would beat Impact. Of course, in the qualifier for this LAN event, they had some very shaky moments. They got 15-0'd by Spacestation Gaming, but really turning it up on LAN, taking it to Impact. My God.
I mean, that's terrifying. The words impact and lower bracket, you don't really see those very often.
That's not paired unless
together.
it's separated by not.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. Exactly. You need that key word in there. So, I mean, that alone, very interesting news. Again, wish we'd gotten a chance to watch it, but it is what it is, and we'll get to see them both later. I think Impact, with their backs against the wall in the lower bracket, is maybe even scarier.
Yeah.
Well, because these guys, losing is not acceptable. Losing is not a thing that happens when you're on Impact.
These guys are the best of the best. So to hear that they went down 3-1 is very surprising. But before we talk too much more about that, there's a chance for SSG to go down 3-1. They're here against Red Canids. Of course, Red Canids have won 2 games in this best of 5. SSG, they've only won 1. Spacestation Gaming going to have to climb their way back up and take 2 more. Our map is going to be Mount Araz Day, and we have the picks here flooding in. The Lucy Taya going to be still taken by Spacestation Gaming along with the Jamila. Little bit of a surprise here. I thought maybe we'd see a change up on that range DPS pick, since this map isn't quite as favorable for Taya as Blackstone Day is. On the other side, we're going to have the same exact comps. These teams are running it back, folks.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised about this, and I think the influence of the map may actually be kind of minimal here. We're going to Araz Day, correct?
Right.
The 2 chokes sort of at the top and bottom of Araz Day, I think will play out very similar to what we just saw on Blackstone Day, where Red Canids was more than happy to just sort of fall back into that choke. I think we'll very well see probably a very similar thing happen here, and whether or not SSG can kind of crack through that is a whole nother thing. That being said, this map is substantially smaller in general than Blackstone Day, so does that favor the aggressive playstyle of SSG? They can run you a lot easier, so maybe.
I guess it's kind of like a double-edged sword, right? Because at the same time, while SSG can play more aggressively and force out a Red Canids of the mid easier, the Taya can also just get trapped easier. And we saw time and time again in that last game, Ruben was landing those entangling roots like they were nothing, even hitting some pulls on the Taya, which is not easy to do when she's hasted. So the fact that on a harder map to hit Taya, because there's more room to run, Blackstone Day, Ruben was being successful, I feel like on this map, he's going to look even scarier.
I agree. His level of prediction with Thorn was really disgusting, and his sort of utility Thorn style was great.
Yeah, his Thorn was absolutely incredible. I can't wait to see it again. And like I mentioned earlier, it's so cool to see him bring the Thorn to the table, because he's absolutely been like destroying any other Thorn that I've seen in my mind. The only other Thorn I can think of in recent memory that's looked this good is Satyr, but we'll see how Ruben does here. Game 4 coming up now. Man, I never get tired of seeing that stage, Crooks. Such a pretty stage. One of those moments where I just can't help but realize or remember it's my job and be happy.
Oh, absolutely. It's just so fun to look at that, look at those shining lights, and you just can't help but be entertained. Such a strong start from SSG, really opening up at the beginning. CCing Ruben completely knocked out of Barbed Husk as well. They're going to try and follow him very heavily as Proster, once again, doesn't really want to cross that line into Red Canids territory. He just wants to let them fall back. SSG are going to be content with holding mid. Once again, trying to get the orb, but Ruben snipes it with the Q. What is this man doing? They've got to be so careful about that nominal damage coming out from him. It's damaging them so much.
That Dance of the Dryads being dropped as well. Aklo, he's using his older ultimate, going to get no value out of it from Ruben. A little bit unfortunate, but things are still definitely looking okay for Red Canids. They have an HP advantage and a significant one at that. 15% in favor of the red team now, and the Barbed Husk going to negate a lot of the damage that would have otherwise come out onto Ruben. Things looking pretty good here for Red Canids, but SSG, they've equalized it a bit.
Yeah, very stable start for Red Canids. Looks pretty textbook as far as what they usually use. Tex using his space aggressively, a bit of an interesting decision, seeing as the orb about to come up very, very soon. The bubble coming out just traps Averse completely, forces him to use so many cooldowns, but in the meantime, they can really put Ruben on the pain train here as he's going to go down.
A beautiful positioning there from SSG, securing that kill on Ruben. The goo on one side and the 2 members of SSG, the 2 DPS members of SSG on the other, forcing Ruben back up into that ult if he wanted any chance of getting away from the members of SSG, and as a result, he just took too much damage and fell with it. SSG, they come in swinging in game 4.
I feel like, yet again, the influence of just Proster's M1 button, you just see that over and over again, just the constant damage coming out from Jamila against Ruben's Thorn seems very influential, because he's playing a much more sort of control-heavy Thorn. You know, he's trying to lock down the enemy team, not trying to play super fast, in-your-face Thorn like we'd see from the likes of Your Nightmare. And I feel like Proster just trying to get in his face and deal damage is the best solution to that.
Ooh, Tex getting harassed here pretty hard by the pull of Jamila. Has the space back pretty defensively. Taya taking a little bit of damage here, but she does have the haste to help herself get out. And on the other side, Proster doing very well in this backline, having a lot of success here.
Yeah, not a bad start for the side of SSG. Nice fear, max range from Bloom there as Averse is going to go ahead and confirm the orb. Proster sitting at a pretty low amount of HP though. Ruben again just trying to threaten the entangle there, making SSG think twice about moving through this choke. Uses the burrow to avoid the incap.
I like that play from Ruben, recognizing that burrowing in there would not be safe. The Phantom Cut not going to land from Proster onto Ruben up top, and down bottom the X-Strike from Taya. Not going to land the pull. We'll see who gets this orbit is Red Canids. The ultimate coming out from Aklo onto Ruben. We'll see if he finds a stun. He does, and a lot of damage coming out. Luckily for Proster, his counter is procced. Nobody taking damage from that goo though. Tex stepped up into it, trying to throw out that Boom Bloom, understanding that he can take a little bit of damage, has that Tree of Life behind him. And now Red Canids, Crooks, they've done it. They've done the impossible and approached mid.
Yeah, Averse just has no HP to deal with whatsoever right now. The bubble is great, zoning them out. Uses his EX to try and get a reset here, but Ruben caught the goo and they're going to collapse on him.
Yeah, a beautiful collapse onto Ruben, and he just gets eviscerated there, chopping down the tree, and with it, ruining the rainforest. Ruben gonna fall. Aklo and Tex, not much longer for this world. The older ultimate is going to protect Tex for a second, but not nearly long enough. And Spacestation Gaming, once they return to their comfort picks, this kind of looks like a different team.
The punish on Ruben has been just absolutely filthy. I feel like they're doing a much better job navigating the Thorn pick, despite the fact that they have some hero selections on the side of their squad that you would think is a little bit suboptimal here.
Yeah. They're looking incredibly good here. Of course, the Lucy and the Taya having such a high impact. Averse, I really like the Taya pick. He's instantly securing the orbs for his team when they spawn, making it even harder for Red Canids to get in there and take an orb. And even when they are, taking quite a bit of damage for it. X-Strike hurts, Crooks.
Oh yeah, they punish them super hard for it, and I think the ability to set up on the side of SSG is so important. They knock Ruben around all the time. I feel like getting him away from his teammates as well, incredibly important in its own right. Once again, we see the influence of the Jamila, and once doesn't get his counter hit, but manages to disengage thanks to Wind Bomb.
Dude, the Taya there too, getting so much damage. This is a bad place though for Lucy. She gets pulled in and has to use that roll. She manages to make it out, and Aklo's ultimate's going to be dropped on himself. He doesn't get any value, however. The Entangling Roots, we'll see who gets this orb. It is the red team taking the first orb for what seems like the first time in ages. We'll see if they can take the round off the back of it. Averse not going to get hit by that Boom Bloom or the stun or the Entangling Roots. Now the Jamila ultimate getting quite a lot of damage here. But Proster, he's getting pretty low, Crooks.
Man, Ruben with a really no value burrow here. He's going to have to tease a lot of his abilities, but once again, they've locked out Proster. He tries to disengage, but gets picked off on the end. Really nice just play by Ruben there. A lockdown into a pull, and then the capitalization by Red Canids.
Yep, the ultimate going to be dropped from Bloom, but at the end of the day, Bloom is going to be the one to fall. Averse up next, and Red Canids, they're not going to get ran over just yet. They take round 3, and they are still down 2-1. But SSG, they still got another full game if they manage to take this one. Before that point, though, they still have 3 more rounds, and it's looking like after that last one, maybe Red Canids remember what they need to do.
Yeah, it felt like they were pushing around Jamila a lot more, sort of denying Proster from being allowed to get into the backline. And I like, again, the lockdown from Ruben there. It's sort of the mind games going on there. Proster threatening, holding his counter. Ruben cancel casting his entangles over and over again, trying to bait the other into doing something suboptimal.
The hook shot going to force the Blossom space immediately, and Proster, he's not going to get his counter proc a little bit, unfortunately, and a pull coming out onto Lucy, going to force the barrier to come on herself. The panic, though, it does hit Ruben's Thorn. He can't capitalize on that aggression too much as a result. A great counter bait from the Entangling Roots and a great Entangling Roots onto the Taya. Ruben playing very well. However, SSG will get the orb. They're still down 15% HP, though. A big X-Strike from Averse equalizes that, though, taking a massive chunk of Ruben's health.
Yeah, I like Averse's footwork around here, too, sort of evading the Boom Bloom. Bloom with a nice clarity to get that entangle off of him as well. But now Proster finds himself very far forward, and they've managed to pull Bloom into the enemy team, too. And he's going to take so much damage. A nicely timed clarity by him, combined with the tornado, is going to bail him out of just a horrible situation.
He still took a lot of damage though, Crooks. Bloom sitting at only 100 HP, and Proster doing even worse down at 70. The Jamila has to play so safe here if he wants to avoid getting bursted down. Aklo and co gonna approach mid now too. This next orb spawning in 8 seconds of Proster wisely going up top and securing those green shards. That's 12 HP recoverable for him. He desperately needed it. We'll see if he can get this orb for even a little bit more. A great clarity potion knocks it back, so the pull of Ruben can't get it. But an Entangling Roots landing onto the Jamila equalizes the HP pools once again. The counter's not proc Crooks, and wow, the red team playing flawlessly here.
Yeah, that's really bad for the side of Proster there. He's not working with a whole lot of HP.
Wow! Wow! Wind Bomb Pet! Let's go, SSG! The Tree of Life going to help a lot of the damage being negated, but Proster still has taken quite a lot of damage. They get the orb, but he's all but dead at this point, Crooks. Even off the back of that beautiful triple Wind Bomb, triple Petrify, I don't think SSG have a place in this round simply as a result of the HP pools. As I say that, Ruben gets chunked quite a bit in the ultimate from Tejas here. The barrier being used on her as well to negate any of the Dance of the Dryads damage. Now the older ultimate gonna get no value. The Entangling Roots is there, and this is real bad for Taya. She has no more energy, nowhere to go. Averse is gonna fall.
A world where Averse goes down before Proster in this round is sort of unbelievable. I mean, Proster's sitting around with no HP the entire time, but they just managed to catch Taya in between resets with no energy, with no cooldowns. And SSG, they tried their best to get out of that bad situation. I think Bloom's sort of self-clarity into the role, into the Tornado to bail himself out earlier was a really masterful disengage from SSG, but being in that place initially is such a rough position because you use so many key cooldowns to get out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though they had that triple Petrified, triple Wind Bomb, like I mentioned, I thought they would be able to take that round off the back of it, but still just the life lead on the side of SSG, or on the side of Red Canids rather, was just too massive. And now as quickly as they lost the first two, Red Canids bring it back 2-2.
Yeah, it seems like a pattern here. I wouldn't be surprised by just even round scores consistently.
The Burrow being used very defensively by Ruben to start this one off, and the X-Strike from Averse getting no value. Beautiful Clarity Potion from Bloom, understanding that Averse would likely eat an Entangling Roots there with no energy. A good panic onto Ruben as well. Bloom doing a great job to start this round off.
Yeah, not a bad start for Averse either. He's gotten those sort of ideal resets on Taya. Another great entangle by Ruben. Ruben just slices his tempo in half, and the incap from Proster, they can't even take advantage of it. Gets his counter hit though nice, and they waste the older Q as well. Older's been under a lot of pressure, and SSG are just going to use that to reset for the
you talk about the pressure being put onto Older, so much damage going onto him in such a short amount of time, bursting through that double healer ability to keep your allies up. The older ultimate's going to be here. Aklo using it on Ruben, but Ruben does not want to go in. The Dance of the Dryads, he intentionally misses the first hit and doesn't hit the counter of Proster with a second, and Proster got destroyed by it. Proster now down to 70 HP. He desperately wants the orb, and the Zephyr from Averse going to help knock it to the side, rather the regular Q. Averse, he's sitting on those full 5 bars of energy, Crooks, but Proster, he's sitting on 0 HP.
It's just so difficult. He has no HP to work with, and as the melee, that just means you can't go in.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. Taya's in the middle of the team. She got the reset. She doesn't really have too much at her disposal. Gonna go for the ulti, but what a Petrify there. The clarity from Bloom is equally great, but they just can't get anything done with it.
Yep, Proster, he backs up. He does take the orb. The pull gets a little bit of damage on a Proster, but it's completely negated by what the orb supplies. The Gust, it was used by Tex a little bit preemptively here. We'll see if they manage to find the kill on the Proster. The barrier was used on him. The goo gonna get no value. Not a great goo.
Yeah, kind of a mess by Bloom there, looking to zone people out, but it's just so difficult to balance the ultimates around all the cooldowns on that side. You've got everything from Blossom the X tree to negate the damage. You've got Thorn Burrow on a 7-second cooldown, and you have Older, who's basically always going to have ultimate. So it's just so difficult to try and get a big playmaking situation with Lucy like that, and it looks like Red Canids, they're starting to learn at sort of their own pace again. We talked about the adaptation of SSG last game, and here we are again, but on the opposite side. It's just telling the way SSG has to play around Red Canids. You watch how many resources they have to dedicate every single time the orb comes up, and it's just because they're scared of Ruben just dinking that towards his own team.
Yeah.
It really shows you sort of the pace of this game.
The orb, an ever-important resource in Battlerite, one that you can't give up. Ruben doing a great job forcing his enemies to use so many abilities on it. This round, a couple abilities hitting for Averse. He's farmed up that first bar of energy, the ever-important bar of meter for that Taya, so he has the Wind Strike, the Zephyr, and the Tornado available. Wow, SSG doing a great job zoning out the red team to start this one off. Bloom going to secure that orb for his team.
Yeah, not a bad start for the side of SSG. Once again, orb control, they're not foreign to it. You know, they're used to having mid control in this matchup, even though it doesn't always go their way. The engage from Averse, not very optimal. Has to use the Tornado gap, but the setup in coordination with the Petrify for Bloom is very nice.
Yeah, Ruben ends up taking quite a bit of damage for it. Averse, he's sitting on that full bar of energy as well, Crooks. The Jamila getting pretty close to hers. A nice barrier negates some damage that would have come out onto Proster otherwise. And the second orb of the round gonna go to Spacestation Gaming here. The Entangling Root's gonna be missed because of the Tornado. Beautiful play from Averse, and Aklo getting no value from his ultimate.
Yeah, absolutely. Great burrow by Ruben as well, dragging Proster into the middle, doesn't manage to get his counter proc either, and the follow-up from him onto Ruben just isn't there either. Tex has aggressively spaced onto him, but I don't think Bloom has anything to really capitalize on it. And again, SSG just going to play for the orb, but they've had so many difficulties in the past with this exact same thing.
Yeah, they're still so far down, Crooks. They're still down just a couple percent, even though they have a 3 orb to 0 advantage, working with an additional 60 HP overall. And in cap, it comes out here into the panic. Beautiful combo from Spacestation Gaming, chunking Tex down to 90 HP.
That was quite nice. I like the barb toss from Ruben as well, along with the older ultimate. Bloom tries to read it with the goo, but it doesn't really work out here as Bloom has been pulled in the team. He has no energy at his disposal, and he's going to lose a lot of HP for that mistake.
Yeah, Tex, though, he also gets chunked pretty hard here. The roll being forced out by the Blue Bloom. Proster, 17, 19 HP, 40 now. He's recovered a little bit, but his counter, he accidentally used it here. He's going to back up and secure the green orbs. Very, very important for him. He's now back up to 54 HP, which is workable, but definitely not ideal, Crooks.
Yeah, absolutely not. As you know, Averse just trying desperately to poke at the enemy team. Doesn't manage to get that EX off because of a nice bubble from Older there. Just going for the resets again. The Thorn ultimate comes out, just splitting SSG in half. Look at Proster, he's left over with the enemy. Wins his counter. Here's the follow-up. They should be able to confirm a kill off of that. He had no HP, and there's Ruben with the big smack.
They get him, and in the meantime, a lot of damage came out onto Tex. Let's see if they can find a kill here. A beautiful EX space from Ruben saves his Blossom, gets him back towards mid. It puts him in a situation to get the orb. They will get it, and with it, red team seem to have secured this round. Beautiful play, and once again, Space Station Gaming, their upper bracket lives are back up against the wall.
Unbelievable. The play is just so consistent from Red Canids. It's just like they know how they want to play, and SSG is just forced to fall in line every single time. Sometimes they can break through, sometimes they can't, and so much of it is just the control on Proster. I think in particular, they're denying the Jamila play so well.
Yeah, Proster is having such a difficult time getting in and having success, being punished so heavily, and it's exactly what we saw against Dolos too. One character would go in and just the sheer pressure that Red Canids can put out by just their M1s, and the simple ability usage seems to be too much for Proster to handle.
Not a bad start from the side of Red Canids. They're going to pull Averse in. Look at that body block with the tree. Tex is nuts. I love the placement of that terrain there, and Proster just getting chunked so hard. He's going to try and go in with the interrupt on the hook shot. Bloom has been pulled in as well. Forced to use the roll defensively. This is very bad.
Yep, the orb, though, it is not going to be taken by Space Station Gaming. The EXM2 from Ruben is going to get it, and now the Dance of the Dryads. This round is looking so good. Oh, no, the Zephyr hits the wall. Crooks Averse is going to die. Red Canids! They're going to go up 2-3. A 2v3 is possible here, but incredibly unlikely. Lucy falls. Red Canids have defeated Space Station Gaming 3-1. A day of upsets.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff. I mean, what a series to watch. Like we said, this is what Battlerite looks like now. This is insane. The denial of the aggression from SSG. Red Canids coming in here, you know, so strong, so intent on just playing what they do and forcing everybody else to just fall in line.
Yeah, their play style, they brought it to the table, they've made it work, and now it's time for the world to take note. A lot more teams need to figure out this if they want to stop Red Canids, but at this point, they looked unstoppable in Group A. Space Station Gaming and Dolos, heavy favorites in each of their rounds, but Red Canids taking both teams down 3-1. It's not like these were 3-2 matches either. These were very comfortably won. The round score was close, but at the end of the day, the match score was not.
So close. I mean, what a dynamic series. The games themselves, so back and forth, so multifaceted in the way you can sort of look at what was going on here, both with the drafts and the picks on the side of the enemy, on both teams. I'm astounded. Yeah, a little bit of a loss for words here. Absolutely. As Red Canids, they're going to secure themselves in the grand finals. Oh boy, oh boy. How's it going, man? We have an interview here. The victor of the last game. You're in the semifinals, my friend. You're a top 4 team in the world.
I know. I mean, crazy, right?
How does it feel, man?
It feels fucking great.
Yeah? Sorry. All right, man.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you. I'm starting this one out a little bit edgy. So before the tournament, Space Station Gaming and some of the players of Red Canids exchanged some words on a Discord server. And Space Station Gaming, they were confident they would ruin you guys. You just destroyed them 3-1. How are you holding up, man? How are you feeling?
I gotta talk about this. Tex has a bunch of screenshots of people talking bad about us. And I mean, they underestimated us.
Yeah.
We came here and we came for we want to be the champions here.
Yeah.
We want to be the first, so, I mean, we're showing different comps than everyone. People are talking about draft and stuff, but I think that we're just as good players as anyone is right now and here, and we're showing them that we can beat anything.
Absolutely. You guys looked incredibly good. What do you think is the particular strength about your team? What makes you guys be able to bring this different playstyle to the table, and how do you even come up with playing these ways that are so different than the rest of the world?
So we all played the different roles. The only role I've never actually played in a tournament is melee, and Rubin just doesn't play support, and Tex even play range sometimes. So we have such a versatility in that sense, and we study so much, and we try so hard to come with these comps that suit our playstyle, our defensive playstyle, and we just try to outplay them with this.
Yeah, of course. Once again, this is Aklo, the range plus support player for Red Canids, running with multiple different characters. Do you have a hard time switching between the support and the range DPS?
In the first few games, yes. In the first few rounds, I mean. But, like, I mean, we get the playstyle. We get the playstyle of the hero, and even if we lose the first 2 rounds or something like that, we try our best to adapt, and it doesn't take more than 3 rounds to actually switch roles. I mean, we've done this so much. We've been doing this in SA for a long time.
Right.
And I guess it's not a problem for us anymore.
Well, once again, huge congratulations. Great job, and I look forward to watching you tomorrow in the semifinals up against the rest of the world. Of course, Red Canids taking that round. Thanks again, man.
Thank you, guys.
We'll be back in just a little bit. We're going to have up next Dolos versus Spacestation Gaming.